We're on.
Welcome to Dox Digest. It's a new year. It's an election year, 2024. We're here with Greg Fernandez Jr. and Noah Westwind, Resist the Grove. I was going to say gregfernandezjr.com, but it seems that you let your domain lapse. So we
I
need to
did.
work on that.
I did. I
It's
lost
like
that
some
one. And
Japanese animation stuff now.
I lost that one, and I did have thegraystage.com too. I did have that one, and I let that one lapse too, just for budgetary
No.
reasons. So I lost them
Yeah.
both.
So right at the top of the show, that brings me to our pressing issue. If you've been to darkdocs.com recently, you probably noticed that there's not a lot going on there. And that's because I'm on strike, because our traffic is terrible and no one's buying anything from the shop. So I find it unacceptable. If you want this operation to survive, you must support us. Please buy a cool thing from the shop or just donate. Cash.app/darkdocs or Zelle 321-460-7198. Buy a copy of Greg's book from his site once we get that back up. And actually, we should have your stuff. Send me artwork for your products to put on the Dark Dog shop as well. And I know Noah's working on some cool stuff too. But yeah, we're all having to hustle hard in order to survive in this terrible economic climate. So please consider donating, or else we're just gonna go away and get crushed under the boot of the New World Order.
I doubt that. I don't think anything could keep us away for too long. Maybe a break here and there, which I've done with this channel, with the Gray Stage, with the David Crowley case, not going away or anything. But you probably noticed we haven't done a podcast on it recently. And me and Dan Hinnon are planning at some point this year to get back and finish this podcast and take it from there and see where the case goes. I know our guest that we have on, Woo's News, who's going to be joining us soon. He actually really is invested in the David Crowley case. And one of his future goals is to make a film about David Crowley once he finishes the whole J6 stuff. And he's done some awesome work on the J6 case. The part 1 is only on BitChute now. And but it is out there. It's really interesting stuff. And I don't know. That's why I put this on this channel, because I don't have any strikes on this channel. And so that's why we're here. If anyone's wondering, why are we on the Gray Stage YouTube channel? I never get any strikes on this channel. So we usually get talk about just about everything and no strikes. I put it on my Greg Fernandez Jr. channel. And because I really want to follow Kennedy and Trump, and I want to follow who's going to win. Like you said, it's a very important year for the 2024 presidential election, and I really want to follow that. And so I want to be careful about that, what I say on that channel, so that way I don't get any strikes. I've gotten a couple flags and things like that. Trump just recently did a town hall, and I covered that. It got knocked off here, but it's still out there on other channels. That's all I'm going to say. Always have a few backup channels, but for some reason, YouTube has no issue with this channel. Of course, now I say that, who knows what's going to happen, but I very rarely have ever gotten any strikes on here.
Yeah, it's wild what YouTube, like what hoops people have to jump through to post stuff on YouTube. Like, I've been addicted to these YouTube shorts. It's a problem, but
Really?
I'm learning a lot of stuff and jumping down all these rabbit holes. But I noticed that a lot of like the big ones that cover things that are controversial or political, they intentionally mispronounce everyone's names. And at first I thought it was just to be funny, or like kind of get people into the comments like, oh, you pronounce it like this, but by commenting it bumps you up on the algo. So I was like, oh, that's kind of clever. But I'm starting to think that if you say certain things, like they say grape instead of, I don't even want to say the word instead, because I don't want to put a strike on, but it's like you can't even say certain words that aren't even bad words or hate speech, but they can be triggering to somebody who was graped, so you can't say the real word. And I find it very Orwellian, and it's a real problem that we have to like I think it's Luke Radowski from We Are Change on his channel. He says like the coof virus instead of the other one. It's like really we can't even say the word. Like that's straight out of 1984. It's newspeak that like we have to work around and have words that sound like words in order for us to convey a message. And that's kind of scary and weird, like psychologically from a neurolinguistic programming perspective, like what that does rewiring the brain in order to communicate like that. And I mean, I might be overthinking it, but I don't think so. I think that's a real problem.
Hey, we have somebody who wanted to know if you have a Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah. If you go to darkdox.com on the right hand sidebar, you'll see like our socials, and Sacred Owls has one. I think Dark Dox has one, unless they took it away. Honestly, I don't log on and do it because I find it annoying that in order to see anything on X, you have to be logged in. And honestly, I have social media fatigue. So really, if you want to see stuff that I'm posting or I'm doing, go to darkdox.com because I post it there first. And then maybe at some point I'll start syndicating to all the socials. But really, I don't want to give them any traffic. They get plenty of traffic. I want traffic at my website so that people can go to our shop and see what we're doing. Like, I'm not trying to work for... Because, I mean, we were dealing this years ago with Facebook before they kicked me off and deplatformed me off of that. And it's like, I felt like I was working for Facebook, but I wasn't getting a paycheck. I was giving them a bunch of traffic. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, we're on X, and if you guys really want me to post stuff on, but I'm literally just going to be sending a link to what I'm posting on darkdox.com or darkdox.me. So, it's secondhand information. If you want it straight from, the belly of the beast, go to darkdox.com. Thanks for the question, though.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Now, let's get right into it because we got our special guest here, Mr. Woo's News. Can you hear us all right?
I'm the special guest.
Yeah, very special.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds good.
Coming in loud and queer. Hey, you like my shirt that I just made?
I do. Oh, that's really cool. That's creative there.
Does it look familiar?
Oh,
hey.
That's amazing. That's such a great idea. Did you make those?
I made the shirt. Yeah, it's an homage to the old 9/11 was an inside job shirt. Bringing that back.
Oh, I need one of those. Post a link in the comments or whatever. I'm gonna get one.
Oh, how do I do? Okay, I'll figure out how to do that because I'm in StreamYard right
now.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg can do it.
Private chat on the right hand side.
Okay.
Can you post that link that you sent me to the Give Send Go one too when you get a chance?
Yes.
So for people that don't know, Mr. Woo's News is also going to be live later on today, and let me see if I can actually post that in the chat. I think I did post it in the chat earlier for anyone who wants to join us there. I'm looking forward to that. Is this your first Twitter space?
Yes. Yes. You can hear me, right?
It's a little low.
Yeah.
It's a little low.
It's low?
It's a little low.
Oh, okay. Let's look at my settings real quick.
That's cool. As long as the audience can hear you fine, that's what really matters there.
Yeah, to me, both of you are the same volume. So.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Then. We're good.
It might
Maybe
be
turn
you.
your headphones up.
I
don't know. It says. Maybe turn the.
Greg's an old man. He's getting hard of hearing.
Yeah. My hearing
how about now?
What?
My hearing is horrible. There you go.
Was that too loud?
No, that's good. Just okay. Scream into the mic.
I'm new to all of this. This is where I'm usually at for 5 to 8 hours a day now. Just editing.
Yeah, right? It's a living hell. I'm not new to this, and I still suck at it. Hey, Noah, do you have a microphone?
What's that?
Does Noah have a microphone yet? We're just going to look at you the whole time.
Noah's going to do like sign language here with us today.
Yeah. Do you know sign? There you go. No, that's terrible. It's offensive. There you go.
YouTube
All
hasn't
right.
figured out a way to censor sign language so far. So if you know how to say J6 and a few of these other words,
Oh, there you go.
that he's
I need to ask Ariel, like, what's the sign for COVID? Oh, I said it.
yeah. Speaking
All
of
right.
that, what is the status? And if anyone, this is the Woo's News YouTube channel, and like I was saying earlier, part one is it. It's everything wrong with the Capitol, right? Part one is the one that is only
Everything
on
wrong with the
BitChute.
Capitol shooting in 21 minutes or less was Act 1, which was banned from YouTube and banned from Rumble.
Mm.
And that came out a month after the Capitol insurrection. And then I ended up doing the entire day. So I've been I released Act 2 a few months ago, which hit 1 million views on Twitter. Thank you, Laura Logan, for the shout out. So, and I'm working on Act 3, and I'll be here for a couple more months, and then on to the David Crowley investigation. Well, not onto it, because I've been on it for 5 years, but, you know, I'm going to put all of my focus on that. Speaking of which, I think everything's backwards on this, but I had these will also be on the Teespring site that I made. I don't know if you can see that. There we go.
Let me see if I can pull that up.
Is DC.
Nice.
Anyway, thank you.
Can
I
you
have a
put that
couple
up again?
more. Oh, yeah, sure.
Look at that. There's the man right there.
Gray State Hero.
Yeah, such a sad case, sad story. Let's see the way
Indeed.
that they slandered him after.
Yes, it
after
haunts
that.
me every day.
So stupid. Anyone who thinks David Crowley is guilty just got to. You either. There's only a few reasons why you would assume David Crowley is guilty. First of all, either you're full of crap, you're being told to, or paid to, or instructed to, or you're just a freaking idiot.
Or
I
maybe
mean,
you were at the crime scene.
That could be it too, you know. When
But
you
I
think
saw that
about-
Netflix special, and it said that, yeah, it's crazy, man. I really want to make that that Bohemian Grove playset that he had. Like, I really think he had that to do like some sort of like flyover for like that Gray State movie that he was going to make. That whole case is just wild. I mean, what a rabbit hole. I'm glad you're finally working on it. I was going to try to do some film stuff like 2 years ago or something, and just couldn't find the time. So I'm really glad you're jumping on that. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah, man. I think I'm gonna stage an entire protest outside the Apple Valley Police Department. Spend
Nice.
some time in Apple Valley handing out flyers, and basically right now, because I have a couple more months until Act 3 is completed, I'm planting all of those seeds. I'm building an army to help me get this case reopened. So I'm looking for attorneys, private investigators, website developers, you name it. Anyone who can help me move this case forward.
you may have a few.
Nice.
Have a few right here.
Yeah. Yeah, Noah's great. He's helped me with darkdocs.com. I built most of that. I'd be happy to help, wherever I can. Graphics, video editing, all that stuff. And yeah, that sounds like fun. I think we can all team up on this. I kind of want to shift gears because I have a burning question. Since you're on the J Sticks thing, we have a lot of insiders, including Eric Bohine. I can never see his last name, but he was the guy he was the guy right next to the
Jacob
the Q
Chansley.
Shaman.
Yeah.
So he was actually detained for quite a while, and pretty much all of the people on the inside are saying that Ashley Babbitt was never shot. Greg and I were talking about that. What's your perspective on all that? Because at first it pulled on my heartstrings. I mean, if it was an op, I fell for it. And I don't know, where are you at with the whole Ashley Babbitt thing?
Well, I mean, you can see that all in Act 1. So I'll leave that there. As far as, I think a couple things could be going on regarding some of these crisis. I think there's a meltdown with the crisis actors. I think some of them are coming clean. Let me turn my AC off 1 second.
Sure. Intermission. Dun, da, 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 da. Woo, da, da, da. All right, we're back.
Because that would be real annoying. Okay. I've been contacted by quite a few people, and I have to sift through footage and just different things that they've said in the past, looking through photos, just basically trying to determine whether they're a paid protester or organically occurring Trump supporter who is there to see Trump. I would say most of them are paid protesters, but I have been contacted. Oh, I wouldn't say most of them, actually. I'd say it's pretty split. But we do have somebody standing next to Ashley Babbitt who confirmed that she is a crisis actress and used a blood squib in her backpack. That's Taylor Toronto, who was then put in jail a week later after making that confirmation on Defender Vance program. There have been other J6ers that have told me they believe Ashley Babbitt is a crisis actress, that the entire thing was staged. When I first saw that night I saw the footage, I immediately thought of Boston bombing. That was the first thing I thought of. It looked just like the Boston bombing.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a way better outcome because I mean, she's alive and somewhere. I mean, it sucks that she was part of something that. I mean, it's again what I was talking to Greg about. It's like what's the benefit of doing something like that? Are the Democrats behind that? Because it's bad optics. You have a black Capitol police officer, and this is like right after the whole not Trayvon Martin, God.
George
That's
Floyd.
way back.
Yeah, everything above
the
so
whole
below.
George Floyd thing.
It's just flipped. Instead of BLM protesters storming the Capitol, it's Trump supporters. It's just flipped. They always flip the narrative.
Right. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like by flipping it, it just seems like all the work they were doing to try to push it in one direction, now they're just shoving it back. It's like that seems so counterproductive. I don't get the outcome they were trying to reach with it. Yeah, maybe it's just chaos and confusion, and that does seem to be a modus operandi of these people, just to kind of constantly keep people, once you think something is the truth, then they just spin it, to be something else. And I don't know, it's just very odd to me.
I think it's meant to create confusion. I think it's meant to create more division in this country. I don't personally believe that there is a force of the Democrats and a force of the Republicans fighting each other. I believe they're all on the same team. I don't support any politicians. The only president I ever liked was Zachary Taylor, who was our 12th president. So
why'd you like him?
Old rough and ready, because he seemed authentic as hell. And I believe he was murdered as well. He didn't want to sign the omnibus bill of 1850, which was a collection of bills all grouped together into one bill. And I have my suspects, Senator Henry Clay. He just seemed organic to me, and he wasn't a Freemason.
That's always a plus in most cases.
Yeah, seriously.
Not hating on the Freemasons, because there are some good Freemasons out there. It just seems to be that some of these people working for the dark happen to be Freemasons.
I mean, what it comes down to is I always like, Kennedy's quote about being opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, and secret proceedings. Like, that is un-American. If you're going to hold public office and be a public official, public servant, then you should have no allegiances behind closed doors. That's treason. So it just makes no sense to me that any of these people, whether it's Kerry and Bush and Skull and Bones, any of the members of the Bohemian Club, it should be a conflict of interest. And if there were to be any amendments to the Constitution that should be added, it should simply be added in stone that you cannot hold public office if you're a member of any secret society. If you have any allegiances to any foreign or secret or corporate interests, then that ties in lobbyists and all of these things, insider trading and all these things. Like, you should be clear of all that stuff if you're going to, it's a conflict of interest. It's just that simple.
Yeah, wouldn't that just cause them to just step down for a few minutes and then come right back to it, like we see with what happens with people that get into our government? They have a job with maybe Pfizer, and then they step down from Pfizer, they go back to Pfizer, and all of a sudden Pfizer's making millions and billions of dollars because of what that person did in our government. And we saw that happen, under Trump with some certain people. And Kennedy, RFK Jr. really lays that out pretty well. But so I don't know. I don't know how you stop that, because the conflict is always going to be there, I would think. But if we can minimize,
well, my answer to everything. I mean, the punishment for pedophilia is death. The punishment for treason is death, and you actually have to act on those things. And I'm for bringing back, public hangings, public beheadings, and all those things. It sounds gruesome, but like, you just do it once, and then people are like, "Oh shit, they're really doing that again." All right, we need to rethink this, and they'll think twice. And if they get caught, there's stiff penalties for those things, and it's just that simple.
Yeah. I think the only problem there is, what if somebody is guilty that isn't, right? If they're found guilty, but then like later
it's called
on,
a casualty of war. You got to kill some kids if you're gonna win a war. It sucks. But like, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? I want to shift gears. Let's talk about your book, Kennedy and Trump. What is this about?
It's all about
what's
Kennedy
the tie between the two.
Yeah, it's all about following that. And actually, the J6 is not like a big part of that, but at the same time, what happened there, how they treated Trump, how they accused Trump of insurrection and all of this, I think Woo's really breaks that down well, to really show like, wait a minute, this does not make sense. And then when you add that on to everything else that they've gone after Trump with, all of these indictments, these cases, the civil suits, all of that, trying to get him off of the actual ballot. And then all of a sudden, just when I thought everything, the same thing we saw in 2020 with the voter fraud, the same thing is going to happen. Here comes RFK Jr., who inserts himself into probably one of the greatest presidential election years ever. And if you have RFK Jr. as vice president, which he does have to announce pretty soon, because 27 states, I think you have to actually say who is your vice president if you want to get on that ballot. And RFK Jr.'s plan is to get on all 50 states and in DC, so 51. But what if RFK Jr.'s vice president turns out to be Jesse Ventura? And so
man,
the voter fraud, the J6, the COVID-19, all of this stuff is all tied in. And I believe it's all orchestrated by the same evil power, the same evil structure, with heads, with, spider webs, with everything else, all these different people, but it all leads back to the same source. And so what I'm trying to do is, in real time, trying to just basically document RFK Jr.'s run, to document Trump's run, to show, and a lot of people may already know this, but to show how they're both being attacked very similar ways. The same way they're trying to keep Donald Trump off of the ballot, some of these states want to keep RFK Jr. off too. And so you have just a lot of propaganda. So I do hope, obviously the book won't be out until 2025, because, we need to know who's gonna win. And but as long as we can keep RFK Jr. in the mix, I believe that is a good thing for this country, because I do not want two choices. I never wanted two choices. I never thought of Kennedy, or I've never thought of Trump as a Republican, when he's definitely more aligned with the Democrats if you look at his past. But to me, RFK
or perhaps
Jr.
the libertarians.
Yeah. Both of them, they both have libertarian backers. They both have Democrat backers. They both have Republican backers. They both have, secret shadow super PACs that are not aligned with any of these parties. So that's what I've been trying to do, is trying to actually document that. And I'm so happy to have you to do the actual artwork of it, because what you did with this false flags, I know this was a reprint of something that I made back in 2012 or whatever, but this is awesome. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with the artwork. Are you going to have Kennedy and Trump holding hands together or hugging, or what's going on? I'm curious to see what you come up with.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That was a very fun project. I love working with like redacted, declassified federal documents and things. Like there's a grit and just a beauty to like the typeset fonts and things like that. And so like that's some of my favorite artwork. Of course, doing the artwork for Sacred Owls, there's a lot of that. It's the Remington typewriter font. If anyone's interested, that's my favorite of all the typewriter fonts, and that's the one I used for Greg. But I'm actually thinking about back in 2008. I was running writeit.org, where it was saying like don't vote for Obama or McCain. There's plenty of good third party candidates. Of course, in 2008, you had Cynthia McKinney running for the Green Party. You had Dennis Kucinich, Ralph Nader, of course, Ron Paul. And I think that was a very pivotal moment. But the flyers I did for that back then was we had I got outlines or silhouettes of McCain and Obama, and like the red parts of the face on the right were McCain, and the blue parts on the left were Obama. And that went really well. A lot of people found it a very striking image, and I thought it was interesting because some people did not see McCain at all. They only saw Obama. Some people only saw McCain and not. So it's kind of like a Rorschach test. What do you actually see? So I think I want to do something like that, where like the two of them make one face somehow, and add in like a lot of other imagery, kind of make it a tapestry of sorts. That's kind of what I'm seeing in my head for that one. So that'll be a very fun project. I appreciate you including me in on that, because this is going to be a very pivotal book. Kennedy, he's running as an independent, though. Is that true?
Yeah. So he finally figured out that there's no way that the Democrats are going to let him run. There's just no way for him to basically win running under that party, which sucks, because when I think of a Democrat, Kennedy, I think of a Kennedy. I don't think of a Biden or an Obama or anything like that. It's a Kennedy. So it's like this guy has been kicked out of his own party too. He's had 4 family members come out and say that they think he's doing the wrong thing. You have people who think he's going to take votes away from Trump, which I don't think so. But I don't believe there's anything wrong with a third party person. We need more people joining. We need as many people running. What I learned from Kennedy is how hard it is for a third party person to actually run, just to get their name on the ballot. That's it. It is so hard. Now, he can do it. It's costing him $50 million, but he's got the money. He's got the knowledge. He's got the people in each state, people knocking on doors. So he can get that done if anybody can. But I'm very curious to see what happens. And I keep calling you Woos, but I really should call you Rafa, right?
That's you can call me Rafa.
Does it matter here?
Hey, you works.
But I wanted to ask you, because for me, it's a pivotal year. Any plans on voting there in California, or just no? Are you registered? Let me ask you that.
I actually deregistered a few months ago to vote. I don't actually believe that we choose the president. I believe it's chosen in advance. It's probably the unpopular opinion, but that's okay.
I'm with you.
Yeah, there used to be an anti-Masonic
They're chosen.
party.
Yeah.
They are chosen in advance.
Yeah, that was the first third party.
That was around the time of Zachary Taylor.
There you go.
Anyway, I think it's all scripted. I think, they're like, okay, Wednesday, we're going to have this, and he's not going to be able to vote, and we're going to have this drama going on, and we're going to introduce this new character, and then we, the peasants, just, nibble on it, and we spread out the information like we know what we're talking about. And what this time of year gets us really into some feelings that I feel like aren't really transmuted. You know, it's definitely a time of division. It's definitely a time of hatred. It's how many presidential candidates do we need that need to promise us this or that? I'm an old school guy. Talk to me about 9/11 or fluoride or chemtrails, and maybe I'll listen. But they never bring any of this shit up. It's always just the same shit, and it's so obvious
Yeah, I
to
think
me.
I like this guy. Woos for president. Woos for president.
Where is Woos?
That
by
sounds
the way?
awesome.
He's right
You
here.
hear
You want me to
that?
grab him?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think Kennedy's probably the closest to that because he talks about the vaccines and how there used to be a couple, and then all of a sudden they want to give like 90 different vaccons to our
Oh,
children.
Woos is a pup. Oh, what a cute pup you got there. Sorry, once you bring a pup in, I'm like I get distracted.
I'm going to be going on a show called Tinfoil Hat Show with Sam Tripoli.
Yeah, that's a great show.
I'm gonna go into the studio and do it live, and hopefully they'll let me bring him. That'll be fun. Hey, Christian,
Oh,
are
I
you
bet they
in
would.
Los
Yeah.
Angeles?
No, don't let
Oh,
this fool you. I'm in Central Florida.
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah, we have those other palm trees. Yeah,
Trees are not
but
native.
but we are Sacred Owls is debating whether or not we want to come for the cremation of care once more this year. So we might be making our way to California. No promises yet. We're still kind of working out the logistics, but we did it back in 2017 and 2019, and we might be doing it again.
Went to that you went to that,
stay
Greg,
tuned.
right?
Yeah.
You went to the Bohemian Grove?
Yeah, so I hope you can hear me now.
He goes every
I've
year.
been there several times over.
Hey, Noah.
My
Noah's been there
stepfather's
all-
father was a member of the Bohemian Club. He was actually the musician in the aviary camp, and I have a bunch of books, and I've shown it before that. I also met an older gentleman named Ron who wanted to come on and talk about it, who gave me one of his annals, and he moved out. He said he was part of the club back in the 90s. So he had some stories about meeting Kissinger and seeing the actual cremation of care ceremony, thinking about how weird it was. And then I wanted to backtrack since my mic didn't work about Woos doing the first video that you ever did. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know where it came from, how I saw it. And when I played it for someone who worked in the medical field, she said, absolutely not. The woman was never shot in the neck. There was not enough blood. They never administered any help. They screamed for a medic for 20 minutes. They didn't apply pressure. They didn't remove her handkerchief. They didn't do anything that would indicate that they were helping her in any way. You can sit and scream for medic all day long, but that doesn't solve anything. She should have been gushing blood. There's a video on Twitter that's even more disturbing of a bank robbery where a guy gets literally, quick draw, shoots the other guy in the neck, and it's just, or in the somewhere, and it's just literally feet of blood spurting everywhere. If that lady was shot in the neck, her heart would have still been pumping, and if they'd actually given her chest compressions, it would have been squirting out her neck.
Well, unfortunately, they changed the cause of death to a gunshot wound to the left anterior shoulder.
Okay.
What?
So then the other issue,
that's really suspect.
So when they wheel her out on MSNBC at 3 p.m. on the dot out of the carriage doors, take a look at her left shoulder. Tell me what you see.
Nothing, right? But then here's Janelle. She was.
Hi, my brother. We just lost him to suicide due to PTSD this last year, and
July. Yeah.
So it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So I've seen firsthand, obviously, any military or service, but yes, the amount of blood is,
or the lack thereof.
if something happens like that, there's a tremendous amount, and so.
I'm sorry you guys had to go through that. And the first thing
That's
I
awful.
thought, sorry to go back to David Crowley, but I think of where's the blood at? But I'm sorry you guys have to go through that.
Yes, well, it's obviously both parties put us in the war, and as a side note, the PTSD these guys suffered, and he served 2 tours Afghanistan, 1 Iraq, and then the way we pulled out of Afghanistan, everybody knows that's a travesty too. But
And
sorry, I didn't mean
And
to.
these guys don't, to my understanding, these guys don't really have a voice. They go there with really great intentions. They're used as pawns. They realize that they're being used. They spit them out, and then they don't want to have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
That was exactly what we were trying to replay over and over again from Jim Brewer's comedy, where he says, "My father was in World War II, or in whatever war," and it's like, and then here you go back home and have children and raise a family, and good luck, assimilating back into normal, life. And then
Why is Dad so weird?
yeah, exactly.
Why are you so shut off from your emotions? What's wrong with you, Dad? Yeah, it's like they expect you to just be normal again.
Yeah, and then obviously they have their security clearances. My brother was counterintelligence, and our dad died of a heart attack while he was deployed, so he literally walked in the door in that garb. But I don't want to distract or get off topic too much. But the point
No,
is,
you're on topic.
That's all we do.
Okay. So how do I say? We as civilians have no idea. We don't know how to support them. And so they're the ones that have the problem and the alcohol abuse. But really, we're the ones, in my opinion, that need to be better educated on how to support them. Because to your point, how do I say that? I don't think they're meant to come back alive. And so when they do, they don't know what to do with them because they weren't supposed to come back. And that's my personal opinion, especially the ones that did those missions. And then since you're in LA, you may want to check out Soft White Underbelly if you haven't already. There's a lot of
YouTube channel.
And
Okay.
they talk about there's a lot of military veterans, but also
drug addicts, alcoholics.
Yes, in the underground tunnels.
Well,
so anyway.
Well, no, you got to go back to, if you listen to the Soft White Underbelly's show, what the crux of everyone's issues is the lack of nurturing and love early on in their childhood, and the abuse that occurs tends to stem or be the reason for a lot of drug abuse, the alcoholism, the homelessness, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's it. He's
and
done some
Hutch.
great.
Start with Hutch, but like in the case of my brother, that was not the case, and it was definitely military. But to your point, they were 10 years old when 9/11 happened, so all of them wanted to be valiant and brave and had huge hearts.
Let's go turn that place into a glass parking lot,
yeah.
for what they
and
did.
So I think because of what they saw, so start with Hutch. He has 3.
That one right there, the top one.
And he's
good.
To my understanding, in LA. And then there's several to branch out from. But I just think everyone needs to watch this so they really understand what has happened.
How hard would it be to create a government program, a rehabilitation center where they're eased back into this type of life to quote reality?
Yeah.
Where they're given tools, where they're given things like yoga and breathing exercises and ayahuasca and shrooms.
Yeah, right.
Well, here's to that point. So my brother left at 18. I'm his eldest sister. I'm the oldest of 7. I fought with him ferociously, even though we were raised conservative and pro-military, but I didn't want him to go to war, right? He chose all the missions, jumping out of planes, airborne, right? So if you know about military, it's a very prestigious division he was in. A lot of missions that I wish he could have told us about. But when they come back, they're expected to just, go back to school with college students. You've just been jumping out of planes and in the caves of Afghanistan, dealing with opium dealers, who knows what else. And then you're supposed to sit in a classroom with a bunch of 18-year-olds that are clueless. I personally think they should have degrees. They have a whole set of skills. So it shouldn't just be their bill that they have to go to college. They should already come back with some type of certification. So that's the big problem. Yeah, they're not. My brother said his exit interview was with a little lady, old secretary that's never seen a war zone ever, and that's it. And then that's why they just don't know quite how to function. So there definitely needs to be a transition program.
And if we educate our men and women around the globe, not just in America, but around the globe, there wouldn't be any war.
Oh, I know, man, right?
Correct.
Going to fight for someone else's lack of ability to communicate, or at least, say, hey, I have a problem over here, you have a problem over here, let's try to fix it. Instead of, fuck you, I'm going to go take you and, send other assholes to blow you up. I don't know. I've seen that since my grandfather was in World War II, and he had the time. See, this is the other thing, is he had time to live past the disclosure timeline, like 50 years. The disclosure papers can come out about World War II, and he said when he looked into it, he found out that Hugo Boss made the uniforms, Adidas made the boots, GM gave him all the trucks, all the stuff that he supposedly was fighting against Hitler for, and going into Normandy a week later, seeing everybody that had been blown up and all that stuff. Literally, he said later on, if I had known now what I knew then, I never would have been enlisted. And that was huge because our entire family goes back to the Civil War. And so, being in the military and serving was an important thing. But again, side note on the J6 stuff, I feel like a lot of these people think that they're doing something valiant, brave, or I don't know how you can think that. To me, it looked like the Feds set it all up. So how are these? That means that there's some type of military trained group of people that knew what they were doing, and how to create a psyop, how to infiltrate, how to make it look like another group of people. That to me is just, I don't know.
What is your brother's name?
Pardon?
What is your brother's name?
Brooks Jordan Proctor.
Brooks Jordan Proctor. Your love, Brooks.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Yes. And also, I have a friend of his that's in rehab right now, but that's what the alcohol is one issue, but it's why are they drinking, right? There's so much pain because as you watch, Hutch describes very well, I think one of the instances he had a friend be blown apart, severed in half, lived through it, but they decided, you know what, screw it, we're going to open up these trucks and see what's in it. And it was Taco Bell and McDonald's
that they're hauling in
in the convoys. Mm-hmm. So they're risking their lives thinking it's this
Uber
really
mission,
important
right?
mission. Yeah. And, I know not all were like that, but just start watching those stories. And if we can get the word out about them, I think the public would, especially with what's happening in Ukraine, they're doing the same thing. It's just getting everybody hyped up to go to war, take sides, and no more. We're done.
Yeah. But then
that's a really big key point here too. Sorry to cut you off, but I noticed that so like what we're doing here with like Dark Dox and Sacred Owls and stuff, like a couple months back last July. We tried to have, our first show in quite a while with our new lineup and stuff. And then you had like local Antifa bash the fashion, all these people. If you saw the last couple episodes saying, oh, Sacred Owls is a bunch of National Socialists, a bunch of Nazis and this and that. And I was like, no, we're not. Okay, cool. So I started making like anti-swastika pins, and I put a swastika buster on Dark Dox being like, we're against Antifa, but we're also against Nazis. You know that, right? And then it's interesting. So I have the buttons for sale on eBay and stuff. And then I have people being like, oh, you shouldn't be posting those swastika busters. I'm like, do you realize Hitler was like bankrolled by the Rothschilds? And that again, it was like both sides. It was a New World Order depopulation plan. World War II.
Prescott Bush, baby.
Prescott Bush. Yeah.
Ever since my grandfather explained that we basically had a coup, or at least someone on the inside trying to fund the other side, and then his children become presidents.
Well, and I'm in the pharmaceutical industry. It's all connected. So Afghanistan, the opium, then that's the thing too. They go to war, they have injuries, they get put on pain meds. It's the whole cycle. It's all connected. And just if everyone could start connecting the dots and they would see this pattern. On a side note, we weren't a military family. We came from missionaries. So my great-grandparents were actually born or my grandfather was born in China, and then they were rushed out when Mao Zedong came to power. So as all the things happening with the vaccine and mandates, it was exactly analogous to the stories they told me growing up about the communist regime and how they came through. And, you know, I was just trying to scream to my family, no. But even my younger siblings hadn't even heard about Tiananmen Square. So then that's when I realized the education propaganda has also been changing rapidly. From our generation to the next generation, like 10 years. It's significant.
It's always these extremes, you know, and that's why, like, for the new lineup of Sacred Owls, actually, our drummer Zorn, he's on the far right, and like he was like way overboard when I first met him, and like we had a lot of debates when we first started jamming and stuff, and I was like, you know, like what I really need to do, I need to get someone on the far left to play bass for us. So I got Tamra, who was a part of like the BLM Antifa stuff and all that, and like super hardcore into all that stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna make you two work together, and it's a beautiful thing because what's happening is like they're seeing that like they agree on most stuff. And that's the thing. So I'm reaching out to all you Nazis out there, all you far right, really right wing people, and all you far left people. You have way more in common that you think, and you actually all, believe it or not, align perfectly with the libertarians and the independents. Let's all join forces and destroy the New World Order, because that's all we're trying to do.
Common enemy, right? So that's the problem, is people don't realize who exactly they're.
The enemy of your enemy is your friend. So let's all join forces here. I mean, if you're a little racist or you're a little communist, like put that shit to the side. We can debate that shit later after we destroy the 1%.
Yeah.
Well, so
the problem is they want to destroy everyone else.
Right.
These radical.
Right. The 1% wants to destroy the 99.
Yeah.
So the 99, divide and conquer. We have to unite, you know, and put aside our little disagreements. It's all semantics. At the end of the day, we all want to be independent. We all want to be free to do whatever we want, believe whatever we want, whatever religion, whatever political ideology.
No step on snake, right? No step on snake.
No step on snake.
Yeah.
Don't step on snake. No, when their goal is to wipe out a certain people, to wipe out Jews, for example, you know, you can't negotiate with those people. And, you know, it takes a very strong person and takes a certain type of special character to actually try to negotiate with those people, to try to work with those people. It's not something that I have the strength, the knowledge, the willpower, the wisdom to do. And I leave that into better hands.
You can't have no in your heart, Greg. You're more powerful than you think. I mean that with all of my heart, and I really believe that. We all are very powerful here, and that's why people listen to us, and that's why people follow us, because they're looking for answers, they're looking for leadership, and here we are. And exactly, it's like, you know, how funny was it that like, oh, everything was anti-Semitic, oh, you know, you're a Nazi. It's all about, you know, going against the Jews and stuff. But now the Democrats are going against Israel and they're siding with the Palestinians. How does that make, like, these people flip on whatever, because again,
they're told to.
Right. They'll do whatever they're told. It's all about confusion. It's all about chaos. It's all about destruction. It's all about money. It's all about power. It's all about weapons, the military industrial complex, Lockheed Martin, Blackwater. You know, it's all about money and power and destroying human lives. So if we all realize that, we can all really join forces. And if you don't like the Jews, or if you don't like the blacks, or you don't like these people or that people, you'll find once you hang out with those people, again, we have like plenty in common. You can be a separatist. You can like just not hang. A lot of these like white supremacists I've found, they're separatists, like just like the black separatists, just like the Black Panthers. They just don't want to hang around with white people. They don't want white people telling them what to do. They want to have their own communities, their own Black Wall Street and all. And that's fine. That's what being an independent is. That's what libertarianism is all about. You know, it's like everyone should be able to be with their own tribes, and we can choose to work together and do things or not. I mean, that's total. It's up to the individual, you know. So that's the difference between segregation and separation. Actually, back during the whole Black Lives Matter thing, I made it a point to reach out to Orlando Black Lives Matter and be like, hey, let's do an interview. And they were totally cool with it. And everyone like on Facebook, because we were like debating and arguing, I'm like, let's do a podcast. So, I brought them out to our property. We were drinking Hennessy, smoking blunts, and like just getting down to the brass tacks of everything. And so, they were explaining like, yeah, we just want to do our own thing. And like, we don't want segregation. We just, want to be able to have something to call our own. And isn't that what our founding fathers wanted? Isn't that like what any free human being wants to do? So it's like, again, we have way more in common than we think. Don't believe the establishment. We can unite and destroy this thing. We got the numbers, and we can totally win this thing. I mean, I'm very confident about it. We just have to, not buy into the hype.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and educate. So, I was born in 1979 with Iran. So back then, women drove. They were educated. It wasn't until Ayatollah Khomeini came to power.
Ayatollah Asahola. I always remember that T-shirt.
And then I don't. He has a better memory. But again, so all of these conflicts just keep recycling, like, a club in LA. I used to live in LA, so it's the same building, same place, but they slapped some new paint on it and a new name, and all of a sudden it's the hippest place to go to, even though just yesterday it was dead. So,
What place is this?
just any bar in LA when I live, around Studio City, it would be the same,
Oh, you're in
same,
Studio
same
City.
owners. They would just kind of rebrand. I'm being a little extreme, but
that's what you're saying is you're rebranding the enemy. You're rebranding who the spook or whatever you're saying, right? You're just saying it's the same thing over and over again. It's just a new veneer, a new paint job of again a new invisible enemy, right?
Well, and
That's
as each generation that lived through that dies, so then the story can change because there's no one there to correct it. So that's why we keep having these.
Well, that's why we argue over the convent situation. Was they killed off enough people that were in the World War II generation or the elderly that probably would have said, "Fuck no, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not gonna lock down my country." And then all of a sudden, we have a bunch of children now that are gonna always want to lock down. They're always gonna want to wear masks, and it's just this. They don't have enough people above them to teach them that this is wrong, that you had no right to do any of this stuff, and nothing new under the sun for sure. But and the narrative is literally almost the same. It's just a little tweak in who the enemy is, right?
Isn't that what
those
happened?
are the same people who went out to DC to support Trump, and
exactly.
these are the same people who are caught up in the J6 honeypot that are being thrown into jail that you don't know about.
Well, we have to get one thing clear, that Eric didn't go to jail for J6. He went to jail for missing his federal court date. That's all it was.
A 90-day.
It was a Zoom call. It was a Zoom call. Not even like going to court.
Yeah, can I just throw in a little more?
Yeah.
I know I talk to him all
If
the
there's
time,
anyone who should have been in jail, it should have been that guy, because he's an actor.
Right.
He's a real actor. He's a real Hollywood actor, by the way. But I mean,
who's that?
How does that guy not end up in jail, and all these other people do or are being sentenced? The shaman.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, because I still have and Eric's gonna hear this or see this later, but you have the moment where you did say we are in the building on your video, so I got you on that one. But
he's inside of Congress.
It's like right here, right? He's right here next to that horned asshole, and then
he's trying to say that he wasn't, because he told.
No. Hold on, I'm just saying that you have a bunch of video of outside the building. Then there's the feds have a video of Eric banging on a window. And to Eric's point was he saw people literally punching out windows with their fists at a federal building that should have been barbed wire lace windows that were unbreakable or bulletproof, right? And so some asshole goes up and punches through a door window. How does that occur? So he says he picked up a piece of equipment and went, and I saw the video. He goes kaboom, kaboom, turns around. He sees he's on video and he gives a look of a but he says he mumbled to himself, look, it didn't break. And then they go and proceed to climb in through the windows. He said he followed them in there. He gets into the building. Yeah. And when I observed his video, and I'm sure, Rafa, you know what video I'm talking about. If they're in a building full of tear gas. They should have been choking, coughing, and they should have never been in the building. Otherwise, it was staged smoke, whether it was a fire extinguisher
There's a fire
or
extinguisher. You
yeah,
don't see that sequence. I
No.
mean, you will, but you'll see
Yeah.
them dress the set. Count how many photographers are in that room.
Oh, I've got
Yes.
it, dude. We sat down and I have his video paused at a moment, and I have the opposite photo from somewhere else, and it has it circled.
It's Igor Bobek's footage
right?
you're talking about.
Also, wasn't Nancy Pelosi's daughter in the building filming as well? So, did she get detained? Did she get arrested? Or
Well, see, even that's what I keep getting to is you get to Eric's video. If he's standing next to a dude that's wearing a backpack that has a hoodie on with a hat on, and the
Doug
backpack
Jensen.
he's wearing doesn't weigh anything, but he's got a little attaché case or a briefcase that looks like it's heavy. So what's he carrying around, first of all? And then they're facing police officers with the media on the other side. If they were not supposed to be there, they should have been arrested that moment, tackled, whatever, cuffed, and exited immediately. No, they were sitting there schmoozing, talking to these officers for at least a few minutes, and then in my
40 minutes.
Oh, dude, yeah, long time. So that you have a guy behind him in the background looking through his phone, puts his hand up, and then they all start screaming "freedom," and they leave the room. So to me, it was a coordinated effort to put them in different places to create optics, and then they staged the people with MAGA hats and the brand new T-shirts.
Well,
Brand new sweatshirt.
anyone that's lived in LA,
Yeah.
so I lived in Studio City, and we would be annoyed, they're filming, right? We can see the signs, but most of the general public, even my own mother, what? No. I'm like, yes, Mom. And so it had all the telltale signs of any type of film production. So, but again, the general public just is clueless about that and still gets wrapped up and enamored by Hollywood. I think the spell is breaking a little bit, but that's really what we've got to do. We've got to dispel the spell. They've cast this spell on everyone, and
Well, why do they call it Hollywood, right? That wand that they, again, it's all been perpetuated through
well, right. There's
stories.
a spiritual component to
Yeah,
this as Bohemian and I think that's the thing too. They wanted us to get.
why is it programming on channels on television? Like it's all hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, well, the witch thing. So from the female perspective, it was Halloween, and I'll have to dig it up, but this magazine was sold out, and it's all about good witches. So, and if you think about we had Bewitched when we were younger. There's always
Hocus Pocus.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah, and
Charmed.
Taylor Swift, Charmed, exactly. So, and then, oh, ha ha ha, so funny. But again, I've seen some things when I lived in LA that were pretty dark. Most people have. So
Magic is neutral. I believe in magic. I believe in the spirit realm. I'm also great fans of Jesus and Father. Magic is real. It's your intention behind it.
Intention. That's what
right.
I always said
Well,
about it, intention.
exactly.
So that Hollywood could be used for good. It could be for lighter. It could be used for dark. I think there's a trend. I used to be part of it as well. We see somebody throwing up a symbol or a set of numbers, or this person's Freemason or doing the cross of Osiris, which the brothers of Asania used to do that as well. So it's about the intention, I believe.
We said the same thing. You have a bunch of men going up into the woods in July to go sacrifice a child to their owl. What is their intention? Right?
Be gone, dull care.
To get rid of care.
Fire consumes thee. All the winds make merry with thy dust.
And so that's just the point, again, coming from, my great-grandfather was almost killed by the Jesuits, so he had to leave. They were actually in the Philippines. He had to go in the night. The villagers came, had him escape to go to China. So just kind of funny story. That's why the Philippines is predominantly Catholic. You'll see a lot of Korea. They were Presbyterian, Scottish Presbyterian. So you'll see a lot of Presbyterian churches. Just a side note, because religion has been pushed so much on the back burner, but it's so much under all of this. How do you say? Yeah, motivations of so many organizations.
think they want our souls.
Well, right,
They wanna
and
feed
and
off the
that's
evil.
why the decision of the convid really was this decision of good and evil. And again, I've been in the pharmaceutical industry. I sold branded Norco back in the day, and so if you watch Painkiller, I competed against those reps that, yes, were sleeping with doctors and bribing, and I had to work my derriere off. I had Beverly Hills and Compton, but yeah, so that's a whole nother world of stories. But I think there's still a lot of good out
Speaking
there.
of pharmaceuticals, there was a burning questions I had for Greg. I listened to that No Agenda show with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak, and John has an interesting theory about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the CIA. That Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going after big pharma. Everyone knows that, and there's plenty of good reason to be doing that, especially after COVID and everything. Of course, the CIA, everyone knows, killed his uncle and his father. And but he has an interesting theory, and it's based on so some good intel, and it's that the CIA has approached JFK, and they're backing him in order to take down pharma to bring back opium because of fentanyl. What do you think about that?
I need to see proof. Obviously, I mean, I don't like when these theories
Yeah.
get kind of thrown out there, and it's just it's curious to think about, and I'm sure we all have, and we all will. RFK Jr. doesn't speak very favorably about the CIA, but maybe that's part of the whole program. Maybe that's part of the whole thing. But I haven't heard that one. That's a new one for me. I'm definitely open to it
Right, it would be way too suspicious if he was like, "No, the CIA is great." Don't But, so he has to have the optics that he's very opposed to the CIA and very skeptical of them, especially if he's an operative. But I'm sure the whole fentanyl crisis is pissing off the CIA because of their bringing in the opium from the poppy fields.
It's the whole
cutting into their
border thing,
business.
Because
Well,
Kennedy used to be against Trump's border. He goes down to the border, and all of a sudden he's like basically saying, "Yeah, Trump was right. We need to do something." And it's not that Trump was right; it's that the people that Trump was listening to at the border who were telling Trump, "This is how we can solve the problem." Same people that told Biden, "This is how we can solve this problem." They told RFK Jr., "This is how we can solve the problem." It's not hard to solve. But the problem is you can see who wants to solve it and who doesn't. And so that's why it's very curious to see who may be with them, who may be not. The other thing is when we talk about the CIA, it's so layered. And usually you'll hear them talk about the higher ups at the CIA, not the common level CIA agent or anything like that who's just doing their job. But
Right.
usually at that higher level, those are the ones, and a lot of them, Kennedy will probably even say, are probably gone. The ones who were involved in his dad's death, in John F. Kennedy's death, they're probably not even with us now. So why are we holding off on all of these things? And that's another one of his beefs with Trump, is that Trump was supposed to release all of these documents. All these presidents have been saying we're going to release all of these documents. Now Trump did release.
They can't. They'll kill him. I mean, if it comes out that the CIA killed JFK, they can't do that.
I don't know, man. Trump seems to he's like the freaking Neo. They throw bullets and he's like dodging this and dodging that.
No, there was a deal made. So I'm a nerd. I was up the night of the election, right? All night waiting. And it was a long time.
In 2020 or 2016?
2016.
Okay.
Because I know, or I don't know for a fact, but Hillary was probably throwing plates, whatever, throwing a total tantrum. Right? It took forever, and then she never came out. And then, so I think some sort of deal was made for him to be allowed to be president. I mean, we'll never know, but yes. And that goes back to, it's just very interesting, like our parents' generation. So my dad his birthday was JFK's birthday. I was born on his birthday. So that first conspiracy, that's when the word conspiracy really got mainstreamed. And so my whole life, it's always around the anniversary of the death, and it's just this whole narrative. And
So your birthday is 11/22, or his
no, my
birthday?
father was. So my dad, he died.
Oh,
He was killed on my dad's birthday, and as a 9-year-old,
no.
that was very big for that generation, right? To have. So if you think of how the manipulation happens, usually 10 years old. I'm not a teacher, so I'd have to go back and investigate that further or explore it. But it's a very impressionable age, and there's still, the conscience is very clear. They haven't totally been jaded by life yet, so there's that purity there. And these things happen to us. We were in the classroom when the Challenger blew up,
right?
and the teacher is obviously like, and we're just gonna turn off the TV. But no one comforted us. No, we just sat there like, what the hell just happened? So I guess my point is, these big events happen and we focus over here on the adults, what have you, but the children are the ones that gets
Impression.
something, some big impression. And then from there, you have that turning point of that generation of whoever was at 10 years old, 5th grade, think about that age. And you'll see this dynamic of them splitting or having these core values.
I think that's
Definitely trauma-based mind control. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, my 18th birthday was 9/11/01. Like on that day, like I'm becoming a man, and it's funny because in the mail, when you at that time in 2001, the U.S. Army would send out. It was a Mach 3 Razor, like special edition U.S. Army, and it was a CD-ROM of like a first-person shooter, like. It was like an early version of like what would soon be like Call of Duty kind of style game. I remember putting that in my
World War Virtual, exactly about that, getting the military to get people to play video games just like Call of Duty.
Right, to desensitize us, because during Vietnam, like they wouldn't shoot people. They had trigger shyness and stuff. So they started the DARPA developed like the first person shooter in order to desensitize people that like, hey, it's not a big deal shooting people. And it's funny because even back then,
right?
Although here's what I will say about that. So long before
you got that game nice.
Well, long before video games, there has been violence and war. Again, just read the Bible. There were some seriously, or even Braveheart, right? The Scottish, that's a true story, William Wallace.
Yeah.
And they just split you open in public and take out your intestines. So I'm not a proponent of gaming just because it's indoors and instead of all the electromagnetic fields. I think that definitely does.
Oh, yeah, all that, yeah.
But I also cannot say, right. Yeah. I also am like, no, people, again, there's nothing new under the sun. I don't think it made.
Right. Well, I mean, we didn't have this problem during World War I. Like in World War I, they were like, "Fuck yeah, let's kill them." Da 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 da. It was totally fine.
Yeah.
It happened during Vietnam. Like they got the trigger shyness.
Well,
World War II was fine too.
No, on the other side, because you got to remember, World War I had the mustard seed gas, and watching people die from that poisoning was horrific. I have a grandfather on the other side that became a vagrant. He's buried in the UCLA Veterans Cemetery right there off of the 405. And we never, so my grandfather on that side, the Proctor side, didn't have a father. Because World War I, same thing. If they made it home, we didn't call it PTSD then. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't have cameras. So as you all know, the big deal with Vietnam is finally the public started to see these atrocities that these soldiers had seen. So we got a little window into it, and still we lack complete comprehension of what all these have experienced. Picking up body parts after a suicide bomber, etc. So
that's why they call it theater of war. Yeah. His comment or her, great hater. But yeah, it's theater. They tell you, and then they call you dogs and they're treating you like animals. And then we all sit here and call our offspring or children kids. I can't stand how many times people call, "Oh, kid, my kid." You're raising a fucking goat. Okay, you're admitting you're sorry. So, we got to look. practice what or listen to what we're saying and stop using the words and terms that they're using, or at least comprehend how it's being used against us, and how the media and all the stuff that even from, Rafa's videos, it's just, you don't even get to see the big picture unless someone sits down and says, have you even gone over this entirely? And they can't, because again, I'm just listening to the radio on while I'm at work, and they throw out the dumbest little news snippets that you never get to challenge. You don't hear contradiction from anyone else. It's in the new electric cars, they're gonna snitch on you and drive you home or something. And it's like, what did they just say? And there's no challenge to it whatsoever. J6ers, they stormed and killed a bunch of dude. Nobody died. I'm sorry, there was really no one there that got violently.
Hey, it was worse than 9/11. It was worse than Pearl Harbor. Like, they're literally saying that's so offensive.
So how without anybody with critical thinking skills, or at least ability to challenge the news media, it's all going to be one-sided stories. So that's why when I saw Rafa's video, I was blown away. I had no idea who Woo's News was. I had no idea what the video was about. Somehow I clicked on it to watch this 20-minute video or more about that first video. Just blew my mind. And then I'm sitting here thinking, how the hell did you get all that video clip? How do you spend all this time? And where did I'm not worthy.
A really good researcher. Wait till you see Act 2. I just posted it to
Rumble or whatever.
Well, so that's the thing. As far as the lexicon that we're using, we need to start bringing back critical thinking, because, again, maybe I'm dating myself, but that was huge in my upbringing. And I'm trying to remember if it was my family or not, because I was homeschooled, public school, private school. So I experienced all the different types, if you will. And I knew, and we were just taught, hey, if the teacher is teaching this, you just kind of study for the test, but I don't necessarily have to believe that or agree with that.
Right.
It's information that, and then, well, this is what they want for me to get the good.
That's what I'm doing. I have a 13-year-old, and he's in public school now, and it's a shit show, and he's actually going to homeschool next year. So I'm very happy about that. But I'm glad he had this experience. He's had a lot of very interesting experiences in his life. But like, that was like a big conversation. It's like, you have to lie. I'm sorry. It's like, this is a fucked up world, and you have to pretend that you agree with these morons in order to just get that grade and just move on with your life. And that's fucked up, but it is what it is.
Change that mind frame, if you will, because you're studying sort of like a counterintelligence, right? So, okay, this is what they're teaching. This is what the answer is for their culture, for their language, whatever.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you have to internalize it and believe it.
Right. I told him it's like being a spy, like being 007. Like, you have to go and you have to be an actor. You have to lie. You have to pretend that you're something that you're not in order to, it's like you don't have to internalize it.
Right. But I don't necessarily think it's lying though too, because if I don't know, that's an interesting concept, but I never thought it as, it's just, this is the information that's presented, and for this test or what have you, that's what they deem.
Stepping in the blood right there. Sorry, we're watching the video.
This footage is gnarly, dude. What is this? This is all from J6?
Yeah, that's
is this Act 2?
What the fuck? I gotta see this.
Dude,
we gotta post this on Dark Docs.
Well, Rafa,
this is wild.
Still, the amount of effort. Well, I always think too, this is stupid. The amount of storage space, the video clips, the amount of the fucking time just to edit stuff, and then the scrutiny, just the ability to go through and look at it with a fine-tooth comb and put it into video format. Even narrating things, it just blew my mind. It really just took it to a whole nother level, because you're never going to see something like this in any other journalist, mainstream journalism, or I wouldn't even call we have any journalists or real media in this sense, that isn't bought and paid for to spin this stuff the right way. I mean, I'm getting dude, I give you
Yes, thank you.
mad
you.
props for the amount of effort.
Yeah, this
and-
looks sick, man. This is like what I loved about the old like InfoWars movies, like back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and stuff. Like I miss that shit, and it seems like you're bringing it back. That's sick. This looks great.
Yeah,
Thank
a lot of
you.
the
Imagine what we could do with the David Crowley case.
yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, I
Oh,
spent
I'm
my
excited.
Friday
This is
night.
gonna be awesome.
I spent my Friday night last night listening to you and Greg in an interview from 2017, and Dan Hennon, and
Yeah, Dan.
just sitting in front of my infrared unit and just kind of because there's so much information with that investigation, and it just reminded me
insane.
of some of the characters involved and some of the things that they did or some comments that they had taken away from his Facebook page. I sometimes I
Yeah.
forget about these little nuances.
Mhm. Well, in wisdom and
That's why we
discernment,
do this, you know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that's why we do this. Like, it seems like if people that watch us all the time, it's like, oh, they're talking about that again. It's like a lot of people have never heard of any of us, so like we have to repeat stuff from time to time in order to like not just remind each other, but remind ourselves, and then also educate new viewers. So I mean, we have to, you know. That's you know, it's Operation Mockingbird. You know, it works both ways. We have to repeat these things in order for them to stay in the lexicon.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
exactly.
It's if you guys are familiar with Professor Jim Fetzer, I have a call with him when
Jim
we're done
Fetzer,
here.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be pitching to him this. I don't know if
Nice.
if he's aware about it or not, but I'm going to be pitching to him the David Crowley investigation and just different things that I have in order to get this case reopened. You know, I want to get a billboard up in Apple Valley. I'd love to have a
Nice.
protest outside the Apple Valley Police Department. I want to get my hands on the photos that we did not receive in the FOIA requests. I need to see, you know, when they say David's head is missing, well, what does that look like? When they say David's hand is missing, you know, his right hand, the hand that supposedly
Pulled the trigger,
pulled the trigger and shot his Kamal and Rania. What does that cut look like? You know, the autopsy says it's smooth. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know what it means, but
But yet the dog ate it. They say like the dog ate these things, but yet it's a smooth cut. Nothing makes sense.
No,
Right.
but again, I say proof or didn't happen, right? I don't care how nasty and how gory some of this stuff is. Without pictures or proof, yeah, they can stage things and make things look, you know, real, whatever. But when they're not releasing things, especially things like Sandy Hook, if all those children were laying dead in the hallways and stuff, where's the video footage for some of that stuff?
Well, regarding this case, there were two leaked photos, so we can see the bodies in them, and we can see the condition of the bodies. It's just the angle. Like in one photo, Kamel is lying face down, and Rania is clipped out of the picture. And in another photo, it's kind of taken back where the kitchen is, and you can see David is in fact headless, but there's a rocking chair that covers where his hand is. And there are some photos of the autopsy that were released of their tattoos. So it is staged. The crime scene is staged, but I think we have to decipher: is it staged like Ashley Babbitt, or is it staged like criminals trying to get away with murder?
It looks like total wet works from my perspective. It looks like a team went in, they just, you know, went to town, and then they, you know, they tried to cover it up, you know, put that blood on the wall, and it's like, it was a total shit show. I mean, none of it makes really a whole lot of sense.
I mean, you say that, but only Kamel's blood is. Do we see like what medium velocity spatter on the wall, which is interesting because there's a rocking chair there, but David's blood isn't. We don't see any of David's blood there, so
right.
It does look staged with the tuft of the hair, which I don't think we've still ever identified whose hair that is. It looks like wig hair, like hair from a wig. In that photo, it is hard to tell whether Rania still has her hair, but no one comes up, no one says anything about that in these reports.
But see,
and so, what is the tuft problem?
The wisdom and discernment, that's what we need to convey to people or teach people or get back, because people have lost, and maybe that's the
Desensitized.
Yeah.
It's
Desensitization. That's a fun one.
But that's what comes to mind with all this critical thinking. People just don't have the discernment, and I don't know if that's something that is just a gift people have, or can you learn discernment? But
I think it's a gift. I've tried to teach it, and you either have it or you don't. I mean, prove me wrong, but that's why the truth movement, truthers in general, we're growing in numbers. I think we're not growing in numbers. We're just finding each other. But really, it's like we either have it or we don't.
To interrupt.
No,
yeah,
please.
We have to interrupt him.
It's just
That's all we do.
getting away from the truther movement. It's just discerners or something. We need to introduce our own name, stop accepting what they call us, and choose a better.
Yeah, I like that.
The truth movement is not the truth movement, and this is
Right.
what David Crowley was talking about before he died.
Yeah.
I think he realized that the truth movement is the shill movement, and he was wrapped up. He was wrapped up in that, just like he was in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think he realized both of those ideas, and was keeping away from that. Was distancing himself from that.
Right.
Yeah, because the cognitive dissonance is what we're dealing with in all of these areas. War, they wanted us to focus on oil, when really it's the opium and the drugs. Okay, let's be honest. If you start digging into Afghanistan, why we were there, it's the opium. And so they keep having these distractions, focus on this, when really it's about this.
That's what we've all said. Look at the left hand.
Yeah, it's one of the most. Yeah, I think it's like one of the most it's such a. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think it's important. Like, we have our own symbols and we have our own names for things, but like what I've found, I guess at 40 years old, I have like some fatigue in terms of like, we were part of the Ron Paul revolution. We were part of the Tea Party until they were co-opted. We were part of We Are Change until they were co-opted. We were part of all these things. Everything gets co-opted. So I've always stuck with like the truth movement and truthers, because that's all we're trying to find. We want the truth. We want reality. We want...
Right? No matter how brutal it is, unless you can...
Yeah.
The truth is belligerent, is what they've said. And also... they started lying so hard on the news media that you don't get to challenge what's said, right? That's the issue, is that when we're doing this between each other, I have a chance to say, Rafa, dude, your video, I don't know, I didn't like the way that looked, but you put it out there and we have a chance to discuss it. When it comes to the media, it's all projected to us, and the projection is now the one, and this is something I learned the other way. When did the projection start dictating what reality is doing? Or how did the projection make the reality do what it wanted? And so you have the inability to challenge this stuff, and then when you go out in the public and people are like, why would you say that? Why would you no, because people don't get a chance to question any of it, and so it really starts to become your truth, because
I like what that comment just said too. That, like, God, like, the Jesus said, I am the truth, so it's like that strikes home with a lot of Christians too, myself included. Like, it's the truth. It is what is real. It is what is in front of you. It is not, what is, what are lies, which is the opposite of truth. It's Satan, the book of lies from Aleister Crowley. It's like, to be deceitful and to hide and to, go, turn away from what is real is, this is all about the, battle of good and evil. Like, whether you're a Christian or any other religion, this is about good and evil. It's about the innocent versus the, corrupt. And, so we are the ones that's what Dark Dox is all about. We are trying to shed light on the darkness. So these are all dualities. So I mean, again, that's why I like to stick with the truth. If we have a better name, let's go for it. But guess what? It's going to be co-opted like everything else.
Well, true, but let me just say this: coming from the training of the pharmaceutical industry, so this is what they do.
Okay.
I had to memorize, and you had a boot camp, and your messaging, and you would have to say it 7 times, because their marketing research is beyond anything. So I'm sure a lot of the consultants, that's why
That's a lucky number, that number 7 there.
Right. It's all formulaic, calculated, and I kid you not, I was at Curling Job, right there off of 405, where all the top athletes go. I was selling Norco and Maxidone, and went around by the 7th time, they started writing scripts or whatever. There's something to that. That's also why Trump knows he would repeat himself and everyone would criticize. But here's the hard part, and I tell him, when you're really smart, you get it once and you memorize the lines. The general public needs it, especially adult learning.
I call them adult.
7 times.
Adult, right?
So that's what I have to offer is I do think we can change. I don't think it's so forlorn, and that's why too missionaries or what have you keep showing up. Maybe that's my missionary blood speaking, is you just are persistent. And that's why I was good in sales, was I just you get no, you get this, you just come back smiling and turn the other cheek, so to speak. I know it's frustrating, but that's what wins in the end, is the persistence, because the truth does.
Well, I mean, that's why his video was removed from YouTube, because if people watched it over and over again, they'd have a chance to actually take it in and sit there and go, holy fuck, that doesn't even look real. That doesn't even seem right. But then when they flash a little tidbit and then they don't get further into the details, you're going to take it at prima facie, right? At first value. That's all you're going to ever know.
Well, I was locked off Facebook for 3 months because all I did was post the Anthony Fauci book and the #1 best-selling, and off with it. So,
well, again, once we keep talking about it, we're the ones that are going to be crazy, or the ones that are deemed crazy.
But it's street
temporarily, because we keep saying it, and then over time, we're proven right every time. I was right about COVID. I was right about 9/11. It's all coming out now. We're going to be proven right about January 6th. Yeah.
Well, that's why
people call Jesus crazy.
Yeah. It's word of mouth advertising, though, is the #1 still to this day. So that person to person interaction. I mean, I gave the Anthony Fauci book as a Christmas gift, and I'm like, you can hate me, you can go send it to the store, donate it, whatever, but just read a couple pages, or at least this, and I'd be curious to know your thoughts. So
nice.
It's salesmanship, right? That's all they're doing, is marketing, sales tactics.
That's what safe and effective was. I'm sorry, but safe and effective is a marketing term.
And how many times did you hear it?
Right.
How many times did they play it on the radio?
Right. And by the way, everyone that said safe and effective in the media and in pharma and in government, we need to have tribunals and hold them accountable, because it wasn't safe and it wasn't effective. It was false advertisement. That's fraud, and there are damages. We need to continue to lawyer up and sue the hell out of these people.
No lawyers. I'm sorry, because the lawyers and attorneys aren't on the same side. If they're bar card members, they're a part of the problem, because they know the judges, they know all this stuff. They're all on the same team. The issue is,
so what do you do? Who do you hire to sue these people?
You don't hire.
You can't do it.
We have to come, dude. If we can build and market, and he can edit, and you can speak, we can easily create a group of people that can come together and make a video and go out into a public park. And again, in the public, right? We're supposed to be in the town center, town square, out in front of whatever, and start saying we're holding you accountable. And again, if they don't want to hear it, that's fine. But
okay, so I'm totally interested in this concept. So we hold them accountable. How do we punish them?
You gotta have a lawyer. You need that, and there are.
Yeah, we're back to the lawyer again.
Sorry, we're getting a little off.
Because otherwise it's vigilante justice, which everyone knows. If they know me, I'm all about vigilante justice and taking the law into my own hands. But that makes me very unpopular in public opinion. So I try to play things the right way, and let's vote on this. Let's whatever. What does the community, what does the society agree on? But yeah, at the end of the day, no bullshit. We need to hold them accountable, which means we need to punish them. We need retribution. We need to be paid out for damages. We need reparations, for a lack of a better term.
You could do what Alan Hostetter did, which is a J6 defendant, a real genuine J6 defendant who's going to be going off to prison for 11 years on the 19th of this month. He has the highest,
For what?
longest, lengthiest sentence for simply being there at the Capitol. Oh, for conspiracy. The conspiracy theorist was found guilty of conspiracy.
Okay, but
he said in his motion that he did not want to be the judge or the attorneys to be affiliated with any Masonic parties or secret societies at all. Yet the judge that he ended up getting was Royce Lamberth, which is a Masonic judge of I believe it was Demolay and Temple of Demolay in Texas.
All of them. In order to be a judge, you have to be.
Well, just on a side note, no, we were dealing with.
There's got to be one judge out there that's not.
I don't know, because we were at the courthouse down in Martinez over here, and we walked into the district attorney's office.
I got a sense. I have a strong spiritual sense, and I'm like, we need to pray. Something is on the other side of that door, and so we did.
So we went into the DA's office. First thing, we had to go and check in at the counter, and this motherfucker was wearing a pentagram on his ring finger.
No.
And she looked down. She goes, "Look at his ring." And I looked down. I was like, "No fucking way!"
And I could literally feel the evil. I'm not saying
It was like it was facing downward, like he had it like facing down towards his nail.
He was doing his paperwork and everything and typing, and you look through the window down to his keyboard, and she says, "Look at his ring." I look down. It's a silver ring, black background, and a big old star. The pentagram right there on his star.
I think we should all. Yeah, I agree. We should pray. We should ask Father for some guidance,
protection.
Let's do it right now.
I'm new to Jesus and Father. At least in this.
Me too. Honestly,
in this flesh suit. Because we've been all the sexes and all the races for eons. I believe in reincarnation. So if we all came here to seems like to fuck some shit up, but to bring some compassion and bring some truth to this world. I was reading about the crucifixion from the standpoint of from a hypnosis regression, basically Akashic Records reading of somebody being there at the crucifixion. And just reading about it, I'm like, this is the same shit going on.
Yeah,
it's the same shit. It's just 2,000 years later.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's a shirt we need, because like I've had like a problem with like that whole thing, like, and the reason why like I've like kind of not quite dived in and been like, I'm a Christian, even though my name is Christian and all that stuff for all these years, is that I believe the crucifixion was an inside job. Like, why are we all just like, oh, it just happened, he died for our sins and da 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 da. It's like, no, we should, the cross should not be the sign of Jesus Christ, and like we should not be focusing on how the Romans and all those other people fucked over the Son of God. Like, that's not okay. Like, we can't just be like, oh, it happened, it was a long time ago. Like, how do you feel about that, Greg?
No. What now is that we literally have a bunch of people that are sitting by and being complacent, being a bunch of pussies, watching people get strung up. And
like they did back then. Nothing has changed.
Like, look at him getting strung up. I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to be me, right?
Right. So, we should be activists for Christ, not being like, oh, that was supposed to happen. Like, no, I don't think it was.
Here's the key thing. The people demanded it. The choice was Barabbas. A known murderer.
But they were paying people. They were paying people before the Passover to go and to call for Barabbas.
Yes.
They were paid protesters back with
exactly.
They were crisis actors.
It was the first J6. Yeah.
And
it was Tiberius.
It was, dude.
It was Tiberius who sentenced brother to death. It was Pilate who didn't want to to
Yep.
condemn Jesus
and
to
his
death.
wife, Pilate. So this
And
is where the
his
women,
wife, because he had helped, I
Yeah.
think, her brother. I
So the
do believe it
significance-
was part of prophecy, but I do believe it's possible that they changed their minds after they had put the spear in him. That message came in with
Right.
with
Yeah.
the Roman guard coming in and said, "No, take him down." Too
Well,
late.
that's when you get to Acts and, kind of the development of the church. But, and sorry, I'm not trying to be a know-it-all. It's just I had to
Right.
study.
And we all know how that went. Oh, the Vatican is such a great place. Oh, those people are so awesome. I'm so glad we have all these organized religion
but-
churches that fuck
But back
kids.
up to
That's
the
fantastic.
true believers. But yeah, so that all everything went catawampus as human stuff does. But
It's a great word, by the way.
Cattywampus.
I was just gonna say
that,
that.
One of my
and
favorites.
people-
Yeah.
I have to look that up.
those are homeschooling words, whatever. I don't know what to tell you, but
Yeah.
Real word, it's a real word.
yeah. So
It is. It's great. I love it.
So before it went catawampus, those original people, they went through this just like we did. We lived, and so they were the authentic Christians, and they could be killed at any moment. And I guess that's the difference with the Christian faith a little bit, is we know that it's not popular. We're not going to be the cool kids ever.
No.
We're going to be the weirdos, but yet we still, because we know, back to truth, what the truth is. But
Yeah.
we see
Christ
China-
was a conspiracy theorist. Christ was a truther. Like, it's in the Bible.
Until it rained, motherfuckers. So
yeah. So and that's the connection too, is the lineage of Jesus. That's why you have all those books, and that's what, to their credit, the Jewish, they know their history and their lineage. That's what we lose on, and all, and that's why the books got burned, what have you. But that generational knowledge, and whether or not we come back or not, I don't know, but we do seem to have this
I feel like we've
knowledge or knowing of these, almost like we were there too at those different points in time.
Well, I think we do something to children at a young age that causes us to forget what we were actually experiencing when we were younger.
Fluoride.
You hear other stories about children talking about past lives that they lived, and there was one that I recall fairly vividly, was that there was a boy talking about a woman's name, whatever, that he experienced something in a fire, and it turns out that he possibly was a woman that burned in a fire, and he described it very well. But
Right.
the young age, the young children that are impressionable start watching, getting on these devices because of devicing or device.
Man, I never thought of that one. That's a good one.
Right. You have all these vices.
Devicing.
Right. Well, you lose the sense of connection when you're younger because you're being, again, propagandized or projected.
Reprogrammed. Yeah.
Why do they call it formative years, right? The formatting of your perceptions.
Oh, man.
They program you, you turn around and you have the television that's then, again, all this black scrying mirrors, all the black screens, and all the stories and narratives that were told, we're just then believing those versus our own experiences. And so these stories that were told, again, I like the Bible and all that stuff, but it's, again, a story that you're taking from someone else that wrote it, not your firsthand knowledge. Right. So it's,
and we have to always remember that too. Like, don't take anything as like, the truth. Always be malleable to a certain degree, and that's where the critical thinking is and discernment. I got a funny story on this topic that I've never told, like, in a public forum like this. Like, people close to me know about it. You can ask like my mom and my sister. But some of my first words when I was not even 1 year old, I was talking in great detail about my other life in China. Now, I didn't watch television or anything like that, but like I knew what China was. I could describe like these mountains and how like, we were forging swords and there was goats, and like I had this whole lore where like there was no stories ever told to me about that. I don't know what that means, but I lost all of that. But when I was like 2 and 3 years old, my sister and my mom would always like ask me, because they were very concerned once I was kind of coming to, being like, do you remember these stories you would tell? I'm like, yeah, I remember that very vividly, and all these things. And so there's a truth that there's whether it's reincarnation or whatever you want to call it, like there is something we get, and it's very clear to us when we're very young. And I think that's why it's important to have children. One of the many reasons, of course. But as a father, like my son told me some very interesting things when he was very young and stuff, and he still remembers, and like it's very different and it's a unique perspective. And like I have a daughter now, and like seeing all of the thing, I'm really looking forward to, like once she starts like forming words a bit more and stuff, like what she has to tell us. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, document it. Start taking start capturing that, because a lot of us my age, I don't really even have photos of myself when I was younger, because it's all literal physical film that could be burned or lost,
Just don't give her a
right.
cell phone.
That's a beautiful one of the few things about the cell phone. Don't give it to her, but like you should definitely using your cell phones and stuff to record stuff. Back it up on external hard drives and stuff, and burn DVDs and stuff. Because exactly, it's like I wish I had like some like these photos and videos from my show. I got nothing. I got like 5 photos from like my first 10 years of life, and that's about it.
Get a Polaroid.
I actually spend every night. There are thousands of near-death experience videos on YouTube, and every night, Monday through Friday, I watch one, and they're all similar, but they're all very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you right now, don't go towards the light. We all believe that that's the trap. Coming back out of the vagina. That's all it is.
Would that be a good thing? Go towards the light.
Really quick, so I think this is the key difference.
Come to the dark, Dox. Come to the dark side.
It's just reading, and so homeschoolers get all this flack, but honestly, it's because we just weren't allowed to watch that much TV, or like in our family, it was Green Acre. I had to pick my shows, and Green Acres for Gumby, and then I think Sesame Street. But and then it was done. But we were also part of the generation we grew up without 24-hour news. Remember Jessica?
Yeah.
So we were just going over this the other day. Jessica in the Well. It was Crow 777 talking about how that particular story is what started the 24/7 news reel, because she's the truth. Fell down the well, and she also came out missing a finger or a toe, just like the truth in the story of the truth and the lie falling down the well.
And now knowing about a well, we just recently
anyway, we were
learned about. There's no way. I remember that story being like she just fell, and she was just crawling by herself out by the well. It didn't make sense then when I was a child.
You're talking a 6-inch old tube. A child fell down a 6-inch hole. Or 8-inch.
Was it really that thin? That's crazy.
Well, yes.
I don't know about that.
Exactly, and so that would be. I would be very curious
if she fell down a well that was the quintessential well with all the stone blocks where the bucket's over the top.
Yeah, that's really like from The Ring, like that well.
Ladder down the fucker and pulled her out in a minute. No, if it was a tube this big around, how is she playing in the ground?
But that story is what
it's weird.
The 24-hour news, because I remember my mother, just. All the moms, right, were just so, and this is the other part to it. They go through the women. So even with the crucifixion story, women weren't valued, and their testimony wasn't valued in that time. So the significance of Jesus meeting the woman at a well, is very significant societal wise, because you weren't allowed to talk to women, especially a prostitute, right? And so all these taboo things happen, but just pay attention. And as you saw with COVID, the reason why it took off was because they got to the women.
9/11 was
you
for the men.
You were wearing a mask because your wife or girlfriend was like, you need to... right?
I don't want a confrontation. Don't go into the store. I don't want to get thrown out. I don't want
so many conversations.
Oh my God!
You couldn't go into the store.
Wear the mask. Yeah.
You couldn't go into the store.
That was one of the biggest points of contention. Like when the downfall of Ariel and I from Sacred Owls was she was a sign language interpreter. She worked in the schools. She is very non-confrontational, and I'm very confrontational. And so when the whole mask thing happened, I'm like, this is a psyop. We're not wearing masks. And so she pulled a mask out of her purse, and I looked at her mortified. I'm like, you need to stand by your man on this one, or else this shit is over. And she did at the time, but like with all of the things that happened after that, it grated on her and grated on her. And it was part of the downfall of our relationship. So, I mean, none of us are immune to like this psychological warfare. I mean, she's Ariel Burial, the drummer from Sacred Owls. People really looked up to her, but like that was one of the first like chinks in the armor that like, you know, split us up. You know, so I mean, yeah, this stuff's powerful.
9/11 was to get the men. Convid was to get the women. And so that whole bro, it was.
Well, and it's all fear. And so
I believe it, yeah.
Christians is fear not, right? And so that's a common theme is when you're raised in that belief system, you know that you're going to be constantly attacked, belittled, sidelined, not popular. You're going to have to find your own way, and you're just going to have to pray for protection and to step out in faith. Hebrews, you know, and it's blind, and sort of like the Indiana Jones, and he steps out on that plank and it was invisible, right? But he steps onto that.
The leap of faith.
So a leap of faith. So
my biggest advice in this arena is own it. Like it feels like, and especially here in Orlando, it feels in a weird way good. Like, you know, because Orlando, Florida is very woke. And you know, I am like a bad guy to like a lot of people, but I'm also a hero to like all the right people, in my opinion. So like, own it. Like, be that villain that these people like think you are, and I don't mean like do anything bad and like lean into like a stereotype of you being a bad person, but like stand your ground, double down, don't apologize, but be, you know, friendly, have a smile, present yourself with legitimacy, dress nicely, speak eloquently, be kind, shake hands, give back to the community, and prove that like they're the scumbags. I'm here to help, you know, and they hate that. It's just like that Covington kid that was like, you know, with the MAGA hat that was like smiling at like the, you know, the Indian dude, and the whole media, you know, was like, oh, his smile, the racist smile. Like, be that kid. Just be like, dude, I was just nervous and I smile when I'm nervous. And he got to sue those news agencies for millions of dollars because he was in the right.
Yeah.
You know, be that kid.
Yeah.
Paid off for him, for sure.
Oh, dude, I can't watch this video and not think about how
it's rough, dude. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm like, oof. You know?
Yeah, well, really quick, I want to comment. I'm seeing some of the comments about the addiction and people that have lost lives. So Insys is the name of the company that came out with the fentanyl spray. And those executives, it was the first case where actually the executives went to jail. So it set a precedent. And that's something we all can research. And then as civil, you know, if we come together,
civilians, we're not.
Okay, well, civic.
I don't know.
Just anyway.
I know. I used to say civilians too, but yeah, it's like a non-combatant. It's like, no, we're combatant. We're not citizens. We're not civilians. We're independent human beings. Yes. We are sovereign souls.
Well, my point is there are these case precedents, and whether a lawyer or not, we have a civic responsibilities, you know, we have things in our arsenal to go after these folks. Another one is SHRM, Society of Human Resource Managers. They're the ones that created all the rules to disseminate to all the HR departments.
For the convid.
And then not only that, but also the he, she, whatever, and the education, all of that go to Society of Human Resource Managers. That's where the propaganda is being disseminated to all the companies. And so, and then those, as an HR manager, they feel protected because they're following the same form that, you know, Google, Facebook, we all have the same policy, the same process. But we on the other side need to unite and go, we need to get the head of the snake. And so I think we keep, and some of these serpents have multiple heads, don't get me wrong, but we keep getting distracted. And so again, discernment, wisdom to find out what's that source? If we can chop off that head, that'll take a bulk of a lot
this
of
is
this.
why I say that Woo's News and Rafa's videos are the tip of the spear on moving the narrative forward that's counter to the one that's being pushed as well. And unless we have more people that are willing to take the time, to spend their own money and the effort to, again, collect the information, take what's ringing true for you and put it out there and stand by it, and allow not only the criticism, but also all the positive and negatives to come with it, because then it'll only bolster either your story or allow you to change and grow from that and see another perspective of it. And when we're, again, only projected one story, that's what you're going to start to believe or have a strong attachment to. But when we allow other people to challenge it and put it out there, that's when we all become stronger and have the ability to fight against it, because we'll know this is bullshit, this one's more real, and then we'll be able to find who's the one that's speaking this or one that's projecting this. Because right now it's just NBC, ABC, CNN or whatever, these kind of headless people,
only
headless
our parents
creatures
are watching that.
I
I mean,
know.
again, it's generational, right? Like, none of us.
I'm not watching.
We don't
I'm
watch
on his video. I'm
Fox
watching his videos.
So that's where it gets separated. Is the only generation watching those news channels are our parents right now. So
Right.
Here's an interesting question for Woos, Mr. Rafa. What do you think about this? The most pushback I get on Woos is that Korn was a real protester.
Korn was not a real protester, but I think you
Who is
mean whether
Korn?
he was genuine or not. Korn is right. Korn is there earlier than a lot of the people are aware of. He's on the outskirts of the Capitol, waiting to go in, just like a lot of the people, like Unabomber. We have all these actors waiting outside of the Capitol while Trump is still speaking. So Trump is there. Or excuse me, Korn is there. Joshua Matthew Black is already there in place to go. I think what Lenz may be saying was whether Korn was actually shot in the cheek with a rubber bullet. And I believe, having looked at all of the footage, I believe he was not shot in the cheek with a rubber bullet. Is it possible? Absolutely. But it was all the things that were going on around him. Again, we go back to discernment. So this guy who, first of all, doesn't strike me as somebody who would wear a mask. He's wearing a mask when he comes into the scene, and he has a hood over his head. What he's doing prior is he's talking to these very interesting people when you watch the footage, because our character, Landon Kenneth Copeland, who is just being led from the south side of the Capitol in by actual cops. This is one of the first times of the day that we actually see a cop let in a protester and direct him where to go. He tells him to, let's get him down here on the black fence. Well, you look at the demeanor of Landon Kenneth Copeland. He's like, okay, chill, cool. He comes into the scene. He doesn't know where to go. He comes back to ask for directions, and then he's placed near Korn. Korn goes over and speaks to these guys. Then Korn is in the front. You have to understand that everyone's behind the Walmart fencing before, and they all tear it down at the same time. Then they go up to the top right of this area of the stage of the west front of the Capitol. And so Korn speaking to these very interesting people. Then he just goes near to the cops, just standing there, does this very interesting movement, and everything that takes place afterwards is just so suspect to me. The color of the blood, the shape of the wound changes. The fact that he never cries out, he denies medical attention multiple times. The woman on him that's pouring water onto the wound, she says he needs a medic. I am a medic. She requests that she can take him away from this scene, but yet he stays. So the color of the blood, the fact that they're using that they have wound sealer, that they have peroxide on him, that that he's ready to go, he's all bandaged, was suspect to me. The fact that he doesn't cry, he doesn't even look up to see he's just present. He's wearing sunglasses. it's a gloomy day that day.
January gloomy day.
Again, having come off of Act 1 and seeing, okay, we have 2 tablespoons of blood for the Ashley Babbitt shooting. Now I'm looking at Korn's footage, and I'll be the first one to say it could be a real rubber bullet. It's the only rubber bullet you'll see that looks like that day, because the people at one point they pick up the pellets, and they're these small, they look like the size of giant peppercorns. Now I understand there's a difference between different ammunition or simunitions or what have you, but I'm not afraid to say that I'm wrong about something. Prove me wrong. That's all I have to say. Is he an organic protester? Hail to the no. Why isn't he seeing Trump? He's on the front lines. Okay. And there's so much more footage of him, the way he speaks, God bless America. It just seems so unnatural. And he's saying things that all of my other crisis actors are saying. So the first thing for me was the color of the blood. And it is the sequence where Landon Kenneth Copeland gets all riled up. And he's so pissed that Korn's been shot. Because he's behind Korn, and he's like, kind of like, should I go? Okay, this is happening now. Okay, let's do it. And so either one, Joshua Matthew Black was actually shot in the cheek with a rubber bullet. He's still a crisis actor, because if you want to get paid, you got to get hazed. Okay. Or 2, the entire thing was staged and used with makeup, just like with the Boston bombing. It doesn't change the fact that I believe he's a crisis actor. It doesn't change the fact that these people around him are crisis actors. The entire sequence looks staged, not to mention he goes around to the east side of the Capitol, and he makes his way through the Columbus doors there, and makes his way all the way back to the Senate. The Senate is on the north side. He comes in through the back of the Capitol, and now he's going to go all the way to the Senate, where there's another major photo shoot going on with Win McNamee and Luke Mogelson. So I just find it strange of the fact that he refused help multiple times. The fact that he's like, I'm with them. He did it. You're with them. How are you with them? You don't speak to anyone the entire time you're there, up until the sequence of the moment you're about to get shot. This does not seem like somebody who would be concerned about COVID, because the only people there that are wearing masks are our photographers and Korn, mostly. But this guy does not strike me as somebody who would be wearing a mask. So either he was really shot with a rubber bullet or he wasn't, but I still believe he's a crisis actor.
I mean, you have the shaman. I mean, this is, again, Eric's point, but you have a dude that's shirtless in the middle of DC in January. It's cold. First of all, so where was he wandering around with the shirt on? And then the amount of pushing and shoving and the kind of like the fake fighting. If anybody were to put their hand on a cop, most of the time they're dragged off, arrested, and then you're not seeing or hearing.
Right. There's this unspoken confidence that all of them there are all these characteristics that they all have, and everything checks. But there is this confidence, the way they speak to the cops. It's not only the way they speak with them, but it's this very degrading degrading way of like, you should be with us. You're on the wrong side. I'm just doing my job, man. That's no excuse. I can't tell you how many times they say the same thing. Whether you're on the east side or the west side, it's like everybody got the same memo. So it's very quick, very easily I can determine whether somebody was there to see Trump or is a paid protester.
I mean, wasn't Alex Jones there too?
Yeah, Alex Jones.
Right.
Was there.
So then,
and then Owen Schroyer got 60 days, and he didn't even enter in because, he was a couple months before he was in the Capitol, and he was holding up a sign, and then they were like, "Oh, you can't hold up a sign in the Capitol." So then he put tape over his mouth in protest that he was being censored, and then he got arrested for that, which was absurd. But part of that whole arrest was you can't come to the Capitol and do any kind of protest or whatever for like a certain amount of time.
Well,
But then January 6th happens.
oh, the
He
PatCon
didn't,
thing is.
it's my understanding he never went inside the Capitol because he's on the.
He didn't.
Well, first they were on the west side, speaking up on the chairs that Alex rented. Then they go around to the
Mhm.
east side where they hang out, and they're just ginning up the crowd with the megaphones. You know how Jonesy does it.
I know,
And
man.
it's
He's
no
got to
wonder-
get it.
It's
And not just that, but
Operation
also
PatCon.
like,
Can I just say it's Operation
Please.
PatCon? Have you heard about Operation PatCon? It's
No.
PATCON.
go
PATCON.
research it.
Tell us about it.
It's exactly this. It's to go infiltrate. So I believe that Alex Jones was a honey trap for the Oath Keepers, right? They really wanted to go after them. So that's that part. But it's PatCon was this operation to infiltrate all the patriotic groups.
No, that goes back to what's called Operation or Project Pogo, POGO, and what David Goldberg had explained was the amount of Project Pogo and Project Zypher. There it is. So Project Pogo is to round everybody up into social media platforms to get everybody tracked into a group, and then Project Zypher is to shut the fucking power off and round us up.
It's no wonder that before the month leading up to David Crowley's death, him talking shit about Alex Jones and these truth movement people, which is interesting because Alex Jones and Stuart Rhodes and Joe Biggs are all they're all in David's sphere, if you will, and somehow they're 10 years late. 10 years later, well, I guess it's not 10 years later, but it is now.
Yeah, David was on InfoWars at one point, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that was Sean Wright who was escorting him. You have to understand was that when this Gray State trailer came out, it basically catapulted David into this hero that people were looking for.
Right.
And I think Sean Wright took that opportunity.
I was waiting for that video, man. You're talking about not only the Mark of the Beast, shutting the power off, you had the military and
everything.
Freemasons.
Yeah. And then
Freemasons, yeah.
And then the bag that the guillotine or whatever the dude at the end, right? He's wearing a Masonic bag or something like that.
Yeah, if you read David's 2013 script, all that's in there. The Bohemian Grove is actually in there. A child sacrifice is in there. Some crazy stuff.
I actually printed it out. I haven't read it. That's the third version, right?
That's the first version. That's one of the versions. That's the version where Danny August Mason is a co-writer or has a story credit, but that's the crazy one. The one that came out in 2014. Go ahead.
What you're talking about, is that in the third version? Because there were 3 versions, and if you read the day one script, he talks about finishing or completing this version of Gray State. He also has another project that he's working on, something about a dwarf or rabbit. I have to go back and look at it. Are you aware of that? The white rabbit or something?
The first version is the one that he was co-writing with Danny August Mason, and I think his wife was also involved in that. That one has shape shifters. It has the beast. Yeah. It has a person dying, coming back to life. Basically, it has the Bohemian Grove. It has everything. It's more closer to the 2012 trailer. The update, the last version David did, is more like a Tom Clancy film.
That's what I got. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
I would love to get that made somehow. First, we have to vindicate him.
Dude, if you could re-edit, or bring in a Woo's News version of Gray State, I mean, good.
But they never filmed it.
No, but the trailer alone,
the trailer is flawless. It doesn't need
I know, right? We just saw the movie right there, but that was when I saw
and we have AI now, so we can use some of that. Also, like that original one, like I have these comic books that I've been making, and like the comic book albums with Sacred Albums called Tales of Terror. And for the third one, I thought it'd be really fun to there needs to be a David Crowley song, and have like some of that stuff into comic book form, and hopefully that drums up some interest for a Gray State film to be made in this time period. That'd be fantastic.
let's just prove that they were murdered, and then we'll talk about making a movie.
Okay.
We'll make it
I like
series.
Yeah.
That
I
way
had
we
it-
can have little snippets, and they can.
Well, that's what we've been discussing. That is having not just hour-long conversations, because 2 hours of this, a lot of people are going to lose it after a few, unless they're watching
Of
it
course.
live. The issue is we got to start working on 10, 20-minute clips and something short.
Again,
Don't
the
worry, we have Citizen
pharmaceutical.
Lens. We have Citizen Lens to clip all of this and put it on
There you
Twitter.
go.
He has a really nice following. He has a
Yeah,
really nice
well,
following.
again,
I
on
also
Twitter.
I thought a great like device for like tying these two stories together. What happened to David Crowley and his wife and his daughter, and the whole thing to what he was trying to make, and maybe like why he got killed. They all got killed. It'd be pretty great to like do something kind of like where you have like in black and white. It cuts to a scene of them. It's funny. It's a similar. I was just watching last night that Asteroid City film from last year from
Any
Wes
good?
Anderson. It's interesting. It's very odd. It's very. I like Wes Anderson, and it's worth watching. But there's a device where like in black and white, it's they cut to scenes of the writer of the movie. Which is actually a play, but then it's very odd. It cuts into all these different like realities, I guess you could say. So like I was thinking like the gray state can be in color happening, and then it'll cut to black and white where it's David Crowley and his wife, and writing the thing, and then getting called to do this or that, and then so like the stories kind of go parallel, and then at the end of the film, of course, is David Crowley and his family getting killed, and what we think happens, and then then the conclusion of the Gray State film, and somehow them tying together. I think that would be a great device to make this like a very compelling film.
I've always thought of Stir of Echoes. I don't know why,
Mm.
because I'm like, I'm actually calling in, psychic spies. Honestly, remote
Wow.
viewers. I'm anyone who could possibly contribute to this investigation. It's funny you mentioned a David Crowley song, because almost every day I'm saying Davy Crowley. It just
Oh,
every
yeah,
morning
there you go.
it pops into my head. So if you guys
Might
know
weave
anybody
that
who,
in.
yeah, I am talking with the psychic now. I know people, whatever. But the first thing she said was, they know them. Which I know we've heard from another psychic that said the same thing, but there's no way that
The murderers knew David and his family.
No, the other way
You're saying?
around. That David knew who murdered him.
Yeah.
They all did. I'm not saying that's accurate. I've always believed that.
Well, it's probably someone who knew them well and betrayed them.
I think we can think of a couple people.
Yeah, I mean, with the social media stuff, I mean, that we dove into with Greg and stuff, there's a lot of very odd exchanges on Facebook after the death that is very questionable.
Yeah, like the
I'm gonna have that
removal of a
song
lot of
stuck
things.
in my
I don't
head
know
now.
if you guys actually know this. I tipped Greg off to this last year. Someone changed his Facebook profile last year.
What the heck? How's that possible? That was crazy.
Remember, I took a screenshot and sent it to you. I would love to know, just for my own.
Who has the logins? Yeah.
Arsenal. I would love to know which Greek god that is, or whatever statue that was. Someone has his credentials, just like they did after he died when they started removing lots of things from his Facebook page. We know of somebody who wrapped up in this case that likes to remove things from people's Facebook page. Yep, that's the one.
It looks like a crucifix, kind of, if you go back from a distance.
But that's the picture. Look at the date on that.
The first thing I thought of is it reminds me a lot of the profile picture for what's his name from Pizzagate, from Comet Ping Pong.
Elefantis.
Alphonsus or whatever.
Yeah, James Alefantis. It was like that statue of that like the cherub boy god creepy shit. Like it's that style of sculpture.
Hey, Greg, look up Apollo because look at the hands almost in the. Go look up Apollo statue real quick, or just Apollo, because it says that Apollo is has been recognized as a god of archery, music, dance, truth, and prophecy.
Well, wait, it's interesting because he had a hard drive. Oh, I forget the name of the hard drive. The hard drive was named. It started with an M, like Mysodine, or it turned out it was a Greek god, a female Greek god of truth.
Minerva. That sounds the only word.
No,
Minerva.
It's like Myosdene or something like that. It was one of the smaller hard drives that he had. I believe it was the hard drive that went to his MacBook Pro. You know, the MacBook Pro that was accessed on the 14th of January and the bodies weren't found until the 17th of January. Tell me if that makes sense to you. Remember, the dog Paleo, no one hears the dog barking until 3 days before the bodies are found. That would be the 14th of January, the same day his computer was accessed. The last day his computer was accessed was Christmas night. And then again on the 14th of January. And then the neighbors hear Paleo barking.
Yeah, so 2 weeks go by. Yeah.
Exactly. But it also doesn't make sense because there's dog droppings everywhere. The same dog droppings that weren't tested. The same
to
dog
find
droppings.
human remains in his dog poop. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think so.
But the dog.
What does paleo mean?
That was their dog.
I know,
what does it
but
mean? What's the symbol?
He was a nutritionist.
Okay.
His wife was a nutritionist, and I believe, and I do believe that was kind of around the time the paleo movement was out. That's
right,
just speculation.
Someone just said paleo diet. I heard.
Yeah.
Paleo diet. I think they were pretty on top of their diet. I mean, she was a dietitian.
Yeah, they were health nuts. Yeah.
And that diet is meat, right?
It's
That's
all
a
meat
diet.
Mostly all meat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is what they claim Paleo did, is eat the meat of its owners and their daughter.
Right.
I don't know.
But yet the daughter is laying on the side. Her entire right arm is missing, but she's laying on that side. Remember, both of Kamel's hands are missing, but she's laying on top of them.
Yeah.
If you have a dog, which was a beagle mix, by the way.
Oh, okay.
A beagle mix, he's going to have to pull and tug.
Yeah, and tug.
That little girl would be in a different room.
Right.
Yeah,
and they're not on the side. Kamel would be laying like that. Same with David. He's sprawled out just like Jesus is, and the gun is on his left side.
Mm-hmm.
If he's right-handed.
Well, when Jesus was speared, right, his left side, right?
Thought it was on the right side.
Which?
You don't even remember?
No, I don't have it memorized.
But yeah, we can keep going all day.
Anyway, just
I read why they did that to prevent asphyxiation.
Right. Well, when you research crucifixion, Roman crucifixion,
that's the freaking dog.
Yeah, that's not a big dog either.
And also that breed is not a terrier mix, so they're not gonna eat flesh necessarily.
Well, you get a hungry animal. Again, the duration of something not being fed.
But it was never proven.
2 weeks, man.
It was never proven. It was apparent in the police reports. It's listed as apparent dog scavenging.
I love that word, right? Yeah,
This is why we have to get our hands. Right. I will fly to Minnesota if I have to. I will sit in the BCA and look at these photos. That's fine with me. I have to see what they're talking about when they say Kamel is headless, David is headless, David's right hand is missing. I need to see, is this is a dog responsible for this, or is a knife responsible for this? Remember, there was a knife found at the crime scene. But yet David's blood is not on any. It's not on any of the bullets. It's nowhere to be found. Only Kamel's blood, and I believe there's a little bit of blood and tissue on a bullet fragment of Ranya.
Well, I remember Greg talking about there was a bullet hole in the ceiling that wasn't
Yes,
discussed
that
for a
wasn't
while.
discovered over a month.
How
And-
did you
and-
notice a little black fleck on the ceiling of
And
any
some of
white?
our
Yeah.
some of our persons of interest are the ones who discovered that bullet.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. His friends, right? Acquaintances,
Yeah.
people that were doing the video.
How are they getting in and out of that
Yes,
house?
right, exactly.
Exactly.
They
The
shouldn't.
day after, well, I believe it was the day
2
after,
days.
the 19th. Yeah, the 19th. They're in and out of that house, taking things from the house.
Searching through it, looking
How
for
do they
evidence.
have access to the house? We have to establish that. And what are they taking? I've heard different things of what they're taking out of the house.
Yeah.
And why?
They were there several days, but they should not have been there on January 19th, 2 days after the bodies are found. The police are still investigating. They're still going through this stuff. There's no reason for them to be there. And they discover this bullet. They walk into the house, according to what they say. They look up and they see this bullet hole. And what I was told is that they also knew that the police had not discovered this bullet hole yet. Yet they don't inform the police. The police are not informed until 1 month later. It stinks to high heaven.
They
Then,
leave with
that
4 bullet fragments and 6 casings. They don't find another fragment until it's rolled out from the carpet. And when
Yeah,
they
but
pull that carpet up, there's no blood, by the way. You have
Right,
3
it should be
human
soaked
beings,
through to
no
the
blood.
wood or the concrete.
And by the way, that's a hollow point bullet that was found that was used, and the one that was found in the attic, which
if it passed through somebody, it shouldn't have passed through them.
there's
Only
none of
blood.
David's DNA, or
Is not
there's
taken with
none
it.
of David's DNA
It
or
does have his
tissue
DNA on
that.
it.
It has his touch DNA.
Yes, but not blood.
It doesn't
not
have.
have
Excuse
blood.
me. It
So you're
doesn't have his
saying,
blood.
I understand what you're saying. So he fed the bullet into the magazine by touching a casing or the bullet itself.
Well, we don't know he put it
No, you
into the
don't.
magazine. We just know that. Well, by the way, the same magazine. That magazine has his blood on the inside of it.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
That's
How
the
does
only
blood get
time
there?
I believe that we know of David's blood, as far as I know,
Right.
or can remember, because there's just so many things to remember about this case, and I've been working on this case for.
There is. Yeah.
I don't know.
And
5
that
years
was why
now.
I made short little videos of just about one little topic and just took it from my book, because like you said, there's so much to it. And even I get lost, and I'll be corrected. Somebody will actually look in my book and they will correct me on things that I get wrong, just because there's so much to it. That's cool. I have no problem with that. Whatever the facts is, wherever the facts take us, that's pretty much it with this Crowley case. When we talk about crisis actors, and then we look at the January 6th thing, and there's crisis actors, or what for me appear to be crisis actors. And I think Woo's News videos really laid that out for me in the best possible way. It's a video that I can show to anybody and say, if you don't think there's crisis actors here, if you don't think there's something wrong here, you can just watch this video. And he breaks it down so well. The narration is also very good. It's seamless, and it just, I thought, because I was working when I first watched it, and of course I'm supposed to be working, but I had it on and I couldn't turn it off. I could not turn it off. I had to keep watching it, and by the end I'm like, I had digested so much information. It was just overwhelming, because there's no way that I could articulate it to somebody and say, hey, you got to see this. This is why. You want to tell everybody, watch this video, watch it. How many times have we told people watch this video and they never do?
Yeah.
And that's been another challenge is to get people to actually watch this stuff. But once you do, if you can convince somebody to watch, even just starting with part 2, I've been able to have some people come back to me, and it's like, wow, there's
just tell them that
so
Rafa got a dog to edit the video, and then right, and they'll be like, right, a dog edit, and then throw them at a.
Well, that's the part of
be funny or something.
I love that
beautiful
part.
is the short snippets, right? And I'm sorry that I bring this up, but again, they've done all
Repetition.
the psychology, and so everyone's attention span is gone. People who are parents know, and you're working. And so doctors especially, right? They're going in to see the next patient. You've got 30 seconds, get their attention. And so it's this repetitive, and then you move on to the next thing and the next thing. I have to say, that's how we've got to, it's
take his videos,
boots on the
your
ground, and you're at a coffee shop and you just have a 30-second thing, or you're playing it, and someone else hears it and maybe you spark up a conversation. We just have to be creative that way. I don't necessarily, even though the megaphone thing is fun, but I think it's kind of a one by one, and you're just sort of connecting with people and engaging, and they might go, okay, that was a weird conversation, but who knows,
Well, my problem is, again, as I'm pointing out, we're at 2 hours and 18 minutes. Who's got a lot of time to do that during a weekday, all that kind of stuff, unless you're joining in on the conversation and you're able to sit through this on a Saturday. The point where we have to find those clips from, Rafa's videos and take the real short, good topic and just kind of reformat that so that they're the couple minute videos, and those can be disseminated, shared on a phone real quick, in a conversation. So that's where,
or not even a couple minutes, like again, like the TikTok and like YouTube shorts, like keeping things like 30 seconds, 60 seconds. I mean, you have a 2-hour film, that's 120 different clips. Let's say like not all of it is meat and potatoes. You have like at least 40 to 60 shorts that can then lead back to watch the full video. And I mean, and I'm guilty of it. It's a lot of work, and I have to go through, all of these old podcasts. So, the Sacred Owls film is 3 hours and 40 minutes, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. And it takes time to just go in and just make those clips and upload them and promote them. But I think the shorts are where it's at. Also, something I've been doing here in Central Florida that I encourage a lot of people to do nowadays, these projectors are so cheap. I have 2 of them, and they're fantastic. You can get them on Amazon from anywhere from $40 to like $200-$300, but really the cheap ones aren't half bad. Put these documentaries and stuff on micro SD cards or USB drives. We actually sell them at darkdox.com, loaded with these documentaries and stuff. Show up somewhere that has a nice big empty wall and project these things onto the wall. So while people are driving by or walking by some place with a lot of foot traffic and stuff, info bomb them with these films right there. Set up a table with DVDs and things like that, stickers, just printouts and stuff. And that's what we used to do back in the old We Are Change days. We would be on the street corner with DVDs, and, we would use our own money to burn these things and just hand them out to random people when the light turns red and stuff. We need more of that direct action these days. Everyone's so, especially after COVID, people are afraid to just simply reach out. I would love to see, like when I'm walking around like in downtown or something, for some random person to just hand me something that's like, it's a bygone thing. And I think it's very effective. And it's what started this truth movement to bring it to where we are now, before the internet, before all of these things, direct action in person and handing the stuff out. The bullhorning, it's fun, it's performative, but really it comes down to the information warfare and repetition, like you were talking about, just passing this stuff out and giving it to people. We still make stickers for darkdox.com, and we put them up in bathrooms right over the urinals, so you have to stare at it when you're taking a pee and stuff like that when we're on tour. That stuff's all very effective. Whenever we do that, we see our traffic go up. Anybody that's trying to get the word out there, do that stuff.
Also, it's called an elevator pitch, right? So when you're in the elevator, you need to have that 30-second, be succinct, and just get a point out, make people think, get the kind of that, again, break through that spell and get it to kind of what? And that's how we kind of break through, is just, you're in line somewhere at the shopping center, you say something, and some might just look away, but you planted a seed. So it's all about planting seeds, little bits by little bit, but hopefully, but then having a watch party or something that's kind of fun.
Oh, my buddy used to burn the what was the first 9/11 video?
Loose
Loose
change.
Loose
change?
change.
Right. He used to burn
Yeah.
loose change DVDs. I remember this is back in the day too, where the first time I saw a DVD burner bank where you put in like 5 DVDs.
Yeah, like all
I
of
love
them.
that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he would go and do that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you knew him. His name is Nick, and he used to go out and on September 10th
Mhm.
at about midnight and go put DVDs on people's windshields, just all throughout San Francisco. And just that was the one
Sick.
video. You just go out there and do that. I mean, that's dedication to some
Yeah.
point. But you know, that's
Like
the thing.
Popeye, from Down
Yeah.
the Rabbit Hole. We all know Popeye. Definitely check out his podcast, Down the Rabbit Hole. But that's how we met him. He was on South Beach back in 2005. Again, he had like the stack of burners and stuff, and it was all like, Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove, Endgame, Loose Change, Zeitgeist, and all the Jordan Peterson slideshows and stuff. He would just be like, and just a bunch of flyers for 9/11 and stuff, and he would just be on the street corner just passing oh, you need to learn about this, and like talking about it, and he was like just super about it. We need that again so bad. And it's like, yeah, we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars over the decades. Myself personally, like we printed 10,000 copies of Endgame and Zeitgeist back when that stuff was like big and all of that. We had federaljack.com back then before Dark Dox. We were a student organization at FIU, and like we would rent out the if you're in college, it's a great resource. Start a student organization. You get funding from the university and access to like these lecture halls that have big screens, and and access to the printers over there. We were printing 11 by 17 full color flyers, and we were showing all of these films and free screenings. We were like ordering a bunch of food to like give away, so like and we would have question and answer kind of things afterwards. And with the big screen, people would ask us a question, would pull something up on the internet and talk about it. And like those were some of the best times. Like there are times like I even like want to enroll in a class just so I have access to that again at these universities and stuff.
Good, but that might be a little overwhelming. So I'm just trying to think of ways that the average person, you're at coffee, you're at a soccer game, you're hanging out, you're a little bit bored. What little snippet can you kind of throw out there that's just, again, to get people to start thinking, not to start an argument but just okay, and maybe they'll think about it, maybe they won't. But even passing notes, right, we can make that in fashion again. A lot of us know cursive that this younger generation didn't learn, so we can start having notes in class like we used to. And I don't know, just make things a little more practical. No offense, but for those that are less tech savvy, all of that kind of overwhelms me. But
passing notes
pass
is
a note
Sure.
out. I can use.
I mean, there's all these different strategies, and I think we have to have a multi-pronged attack in order to do whatever your skill set is. Like I just got a button machine and I'm making a bunch of buttons and stuff, and that seems to be doing very well. That 1.9 was an inside job, 1.6 was an inside job shirt you're wearing. I want to make that into a button if you're cool with it, and give a portion of the proceeds to what you're doing and stuff, because people love it's such a simple small thing.
It'll go to pay for my rent, but I'm saving up to get a billboard in Apple Valley, Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plaster David's face and Kamal and Rania on there. That whole town knows the story, and I know the story doesn't sit right with a lot of people, especially when Eric Nelson's Sloppymentary came out. A Gray State.
Oh yeah, that I remember.
Yeah, I always bring it back to David Crowley, but that's why I started Woo's News in the first place.
Yeah. Well,
I did want to mention this only because I need to drop this. I need to go here pretty soon, but I did want to make sure that I mention this. And I know you have another interview later on, so I want to give you a little break.
I do later tonight. I have a couple phone calls. After I hang up, they're all J6 and David Crowley related. That's my life. It's
awesome.
J6, David Crowley, and Father and Jesus. I don't have time. I don't research things anymore. I don't watch things anymore. I don't really follow people. Like, I'm not really interested. I did that for 17, 18 years of my life and was just living in a sea of fear. But I was definitely getting some type of doom drip, because it became like this nightly thing where I'd smoke a bowl and look at InfoWars, or I'd smoke a bowl and look at Godlike Productions. And the more doomy it was, the more I would feel this sense of fear. But it was like, it was comforting in some way, because
I know exactly what you mean, dude. I feel
ready
that
for
so
all
hard.
the shit to be burnt to the ground, because, you know, and I mean, I don't feel that way anymore. I just don't participate. Just like on Twitter, you know, I'll post some things I may have to say, but I'm not. People are like, look at this article, and I'm like, I don't care anymore, because I don't want to have to keep repeating the same thing over and over for you to get the point.
Well,
you know?
I'm sorry, but when I saw your video, you put together something that stopped my. I saw it. I took it in. I don't need to see more. You know what I mean? Oh, Cryptrick is. So we have the same thing going on. Is that we're allowing people to continuously push all their messaging, and yet you got to get to that final one where this is what I've got. I'm putting it out there. Wipe yourself clean of it and move on. And so when I saw your video about J6 stuff, and Greg's video about Gray Stage, I don't need to keep going into it when I know that deep down in my heart, the truth is something doesn't add up. I don't need to keep diving into it to some degree. So to your point.
And on that note, fear is from both sides, and fear is not from God. Guilt is not from God. So when they start using the fear and guilt formula, that's how you know the whole guilt trip with Convid. Oh, you're gonna kill my grandmother or whatever.
Right.
Really quick, if I may, I just have a verse. This is kind of the theme verse for me this year. It's from John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So I think we just need to keep embracing faith, fear not, and be bold. And if we want to pray later, or I know people have to go, we can do that too, but it's going to take a lot of faith and protection, to wisdom, discernment, to overcome this evil.
Amen.
I agree with that, because I know that they're wrapped up in. I believe that Father and Jesus are involved with whatever is going on and coming up to a theater near you. I truly feel that they are involved. I also feel like David's involved in this somehow, some way. I do. And on that note, if anybody out there has any Gray Stage, listen to me, Gray State memorabilia, I would love to. If you want to gift that to me, that would be great.
Well, I was actually going to see if maybe Christian could just make us some new.
I was, I love how we're on the same page. Like, I'm making these buttons and stuff. Like, we should have David Crowley was murdered buttons. We should have Gray Stage buttons and stuff. And because again, it's all information warfare. Like, just like how I'm selling like Motorhead and Sex Pistols buttons and stuff like that. People that are looking for that, they'll see a Sacred Owls button. They'll see. I have new Biden 2024 buttons with Hunter Biden in his underwear and the scarf and the glasses. I have Joe Biden sniffing the girl. Joe Biden 2024. It's like I'm throwing that into the lexicon along with all these other things that are popular in order for people to stumble onto this stuff. So like, definitely any ideas for like buttons and stuff like that. Also, I'm making vintage cassette tapes. I just launched. I know you don't like Kid Noah, but my eBay account is Retro Kid, just because I have a lot of retro stuff on there, and so it's kind of like Kid Vid from like Burger King back in the old days and stuff. But we're doing like vinyl reproductions, all that stuff.
basically the mixtape on USB.
We gotta make mixtapes.
Yeah, bring cassettes back.
Cassettes back, and maybe with
I actually have I have 2 4-track recorders that I can a lot of it's big in like the indie and punk rock scene these days to like have a cassette tape, and then it has an MP3 download code. Just for the nostalgia, but people are buying, like, they have these Walkmans that are cassette Walkmans that can burn a cassette to MP3, or you can make MP3s into a cassette. And they're very cheap. They're like $14 and stuff. So I'm going to start selling those on the website as well. A bunch of like all the old media stuff I'm trying to bring back in. I have a feeling by 2030 CDs are going to be cool again. And DVDs and things like that, because people aren't going to be, oh, what are these things? Because they're used to the streaming, and we're at a point in technology where like it's just going so fast that like things that were like normal 10 years ago are going to be nostalgic in the very near future. So I'm trying to get into all of that. I just love the concept of replication and all that. I still do screen printing and all that stuff for T-shirts and stuff like that. So. Yeah, so I mean that again, this is the printing press. This is the First Amendment. This is information warfare. For us to just continue to turn things out, and we need T-shirts and stickers and buttons and all these things. So I've spent most of my life learning how to do all of these things in order to keep that alive and keep pumping out whatever information I think is important.
Yes, Greg, if you could give them my Christian and Noah my phone number, I would love to collaborate with you guys. You may be receiving an invitation to Apple Valley. You don't have to let me know now.
If I can come, I definitely will. Yeah, that's California, Apple Valley.
No, that's Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah, I would love.
Yeah, maybe during the tour to California during like July, maybe we can like weave that in to the last show that I call it from Florida.
I have a spare bedroom if you need one.
Awesome.
Place to crash. But no, I was referring to going back to the origin of some things. Like I said, with 9/11 and fluoride and Fukushima and Sandy Hook and whatnot. But for me, it's David Crowley, and so we may be going back to Ramsdale Drive in Apple Valley. There may be a protest. We're going to find out.
That's awesome.
Well, that's the thing. Who is David Crowley? You start with just that, and people are like, who is? And just that name.
Sure.
It opens up wide. Yes.
But that town, everyone in that town knows who he is.
So
we would have people positioned at the Walmart, at different churches, or passing out different flyers and pamphlets and stickers, and we would have different picket signs made, and of course we've got the billboard up, and it just enough to get some pressure onto the Apple Valley Police Department, the district attorney, the city attorney, everybody to reopen this case.
Yeah. Well, the case is it's technically not closed, so I guess in theory, if you had the right lawyer, they could.
Isn't that how they get around with not being able to discuss it because it's an open case? And so a lot of that is playing the game of we don't close shit up because then it opens the door or gives us a chance to open a door again. Right?
We'll have an army of truth seekers there. They'll open the case.
Yeah.
All right.
If we do this right, if we do this correctly, we'll get this. We'll get her done.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm about it.
Yeah, before we close this one out, because and I do hope maybe we can come back in like another week or so and continue this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought Crypt Rick was supposed to be here for this one.
Yeah, I thought so too, Rick. What's going on, man?
He's familiar with the Crowley case as well.
He is a lot. Yeah. He's got a lot of questions on this case too. So
I'm definitely I want him in my army as well. Well, it's not my army. It's the truth army.
It's our army. That's the idea. We're all individuals that are here, because we consent to be here. No one's telling us what to do. We're all a bunch of independents. So please support all of us, not just Dark Dox. Support Wooz. Support Greg. He has a new book coming out. Support Noah. He has some really cool businesses and all that stuff. And we're all doing it. It's fantastic. Any last words here?
Yeah, I'm more of a lurker in the background. I'd rather help some of the people that have well, you know, and Cryptrix has produced stuff, and Rolf has produced stuff, and Dox is out there. I've had very little. I felt like to say, and at some point, I want to, you know, turn that around. That's why I tried to buy it and get Noah's World Order. It was fun. It was something to, you know, run with. But then, in some way, we all have something to say. It's just some of us don't want to get out there as much as others. You know, so
I used to be that way. I didn't. People always ask, like, I didn't show my face for over 3 years while doing Woo's News because I was terrified that somebody was going to come kill me, and then I just got basically.
No, and I've always said if they come after you, you know you've touched a button and you're right. Sure. And I mean, really, it's I don't know.
I just got tired of holding that burden for so many years of like being fearful, being scared somebody's hiding behind my door. I literally just got so fucking over it that I'm like, you know what? Act 2, here we are.
Here we are. And we're all looking forward to Act 3.
Act 3, baby.
And this is what I know. You have a few more hours, and then you're going to be going live on the Twitter Spaces.
It's my first time. I'm making a big deal about it because it's my first. It's my first Twitter Space. But
yeah, let me know how that goes. I haven't done one either.
I've never done one, and if Laura Logan happens to be listening right now, thank you for reposting Act 2 and getting us 1 million views. Woo-hoo. And you know, maybe some of these alternative truth-seeking channels will actually may have something to say about my my January 6 documentaries, because none of them have said a word about it. Which is very telling to me. I already suspected certain people, but the fact that most of the people, the upper echelons in the truth community, have been completely silent about Act 1 and Act 2 is very telling to me. And I know they've received it.
Welcome to the club, man. Like, whenever you do stuff by yourself, I tell you, like, you know, all of the big guys, like, we're like, we had nothing to do with that, so we're going to leave that alone. And it's a bittersweet thing. Like, I've met Alex Jones, you know, I've met Adam Curry and stuff like that, and I like them. But, like, at the end of the day, I can tell, like, there's an air of everyone's out there for themselves, and they're only going to be promoting things that they're involved with. And that's pretty shitty. So that's why I like this network.
They're not in it for the truth. They're all, you know, we can.
They're in it for their truth, as long as they're the ones telling the truth. I feel like
controlled ops. Exactly. She's got it. Money.
Yeah.
Money, fame.
We're calling you out, Red Shields.
Okay, I'm gonna read this. Because this is from Give, Send, Go. Let's save Woo's News. We've already got about $8,000 here. We have Act 1. People can watch. You can go right there.
Speaking of which, Act 1, people are always asking me where Act 1 is. It's in the description box in YouTube. It's in the description box of Rumble. Act 1 was banned from Rumble and YouTube. It was actually
really Rumble.
Rumble, yeah.
It was banned.
We don't have to drag this
out,
but why Rumble?
It was banned twice from Rumble. And so BitChute and Odyssey are the only places that I know of you can find Act 1 from Woo's News. Now, there are mirrors of Act 1 on YouTube. I think maybe at some point I will re-upload Act 1 to Rumble. But I get that question every single day. Where can I watch Act 1? It's in the description. It's in the description box of the video you're watching. So there it is. I need to update that. Anybody who's donated, God bless you and thank you. I need to reply to some of the comments and update. Everything you're highlighting, I need to add in to the David Crowley. When I made this Give, Send, Go, I was not thinking of making a David Crowley billboard. That only came to me over the holiday weekend while binge watching Cold Case Files. But I'm definitely setting some funds aside to create, just like Christian said, to create some buttons, some stickers, pamphlets, leaflets. You know, I plan. This is going to be a mission. It's not just gonna be a protest one day. We have to do what that guy did and make our own DVDs and leave them on people's windshield. I plan to be in Apple Valley.
Yeah, in fact, your films, I haven't watched them yet, but I can already tell you. That I'm gonna love them, and I'll definitely burn these to. We do DVDs and Blu-rays. We use Kunaki.com. They're fantastic. You can do small run. They do drop shipping. We'll be happy to post these on Dark Docs for sale, and after we deal with the shipping and handling and stuff, just give you all the proceeds and stuff. Because we just want these DVDs to be available for people to purchase. So that way they can make copies and they can continue to distribute, just like we were doing back in the old days with all those other documentaries.
Yeah. And I don't need much. Father takes care of me. So.
Yeah. And in another pharmaceutical thing, we used to have stampers with prescription pads. Okay. And each one would get, so same thing with a Post-it note, just go make stampers. It's really cheap. Stamp all these, post them all around, then they'll fly around, whatever.
What I've been doing is I've been getting
that's a great idea.
Little flecks of these 3M tape,
but
and I've been laser engraving them because they're permanent. And laser engraving.
He's an artist.
Convid is a hoax and all that stuff. So I've been making stickers.
But
on my
for
own.
the plain
That's
Jane
awesome, man.
mom and soccer mom, a sticky note, and
we definitely need to combine, just like Captain Planet. You weren't going to
With
see
our
that blue
power
guy in
combined.
tights. You weren't going to see him unless they all came together, and that's what the Democrats and the liberals and
Republicans. Sorry,
exactly, and all the grand old party, they all need to come together. But us within this central, with fulfilling our mission and our purpose here on Terra Firma, we need each other. I can't do this on my own. I can make a whole documentary on my own, but that's the extent of that. Getting it out there is a different story. And so at least I don't need help with anything J6 related as far as, unless it's donations or views. But regarding David Crowley, I'm going to need everybody's help. Everyone. I do not want to do this alone. I will if I have to.
No, we're glad to have you on board, man. Like I was super juiced up about this one, and I kind of lost some steam. So I'm glad you're here now. I feel like the juice is back. We're definitely going to do this. This is great.
Loose.
The juice is loose.
The Jesus juice.
Oh, have you seen Days of Noah's channel on YouTube?
I've heard about it, yeah.
Yeah, he's got this one intro clip. The juice is loose, the juice, and it's the Pfizer jab in someone's arm. And it's so nasty and creepy. But that's every time I hear that juice is loose, it just puts me.
That's an old wrestling term. It's a WCW wrestling term.
Yeah, but juice stands for join us in creating excitement.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
And Bible, I always love Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Oh.
Never heard that before.
Except the fear part.
No.
Yeah.
It's a good way to
Anyway,
end
on
it.
that note, right?
All right,
Okay,
my
guys.
friend. God bless you all. Christian, take us out.
Yep.
Beware. Take care. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye, guys.